pinnacle of human perspective.
Is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Sharing the love, spreading the light in real time. Friday night love stream.
Very happy to have a guy we instantly resonated with. Unbiased and on the fence. I'm talking about Shane C. Robinson. And his purpose is to rise above the worldviews that are designed to separate us so we can unite as one.
Sometimes you have to sort of take a step back, and I think Unbiased and on the Fence is a really, really good title for your show, because you are in the central point when you're unbiased and on the fence. That's what it means. It doesn't mean you're indecisive. It means you are taking the central point and you're seeing the multiple perspectives.
Unbiased and on the fence.
If you haven't checked Unbiased on the Fence, go and check his channel out. You might like it.
This is Dan Hofeld from Talk is Cheap, and you're listening to Unbiased and on the Fence with Shane Robinson.
If this much sincerity enters your life, come to this much. What I know, I know. What I do not know, I do not know. I don't believe anything, I don't disbelieve anything. I'm willing to look at everything. You will become a sensible human being.
Have you checked out our website?
Visit us on the web at uotf.net. You're listening to The Love Stream.
All around the world in real time.
This is Shane with Unbiased and On the Fence. You're listening to the Friday Night Love Stream.
Your calls, your stories, on air. You're listening to the Love Stream.
Sharing the love and spreading the light all around the world. This is Unbiased and On the Fence.
Unbiased and on the fence.
Sorry, I was chatting. Hey, what is up, you guys? So, happy Juneteenth to you guys. Yeah, that's right. It's June 19th, and everybody knows, of course, that it's Juneteenth, right? Especially if you're like me and you have, a history of, you have black in your family history, in your actual genealogy. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard of this, right? Because I've never heard of this. And the strange thing is, I use my calendar all the time, my Google Calendar, and that's actually what you look at when you go to my website and you see upcoming live shows. Quick little plug for the website there, uotf.net, and it will display the upcoming shows in your own time right there on the homepage. So I use this all the time, and I schedule my BQHs on there as well. Of course, that doesn't show up on the website, but I use it all the time, and anything that's not mine, anything that's sort of a holiday will show up green. So it stands out to me, and I'm always, it's not necessarily a holiday. It might be like Tax Day was green, and Mother's and Father's Day, of course, are holidays, but they're green. And then I noticed yesterday that I had green on today, and I'm like, what's this green tomorrow, Juneteenth. I'm like, Juneteenth, and I just figured they updated it because I noticed the same thing happened with Tax Day because they moved it, right, from April to, June or something. So I noticed it had moved on the calendar. So I figured maybe they updated it and added some new holiday on there until I open up Google, the search engine today, and they've got the special graphic for the holiday. That's today, Juneteenth. And I can tell you guys, for those that don't know, I'm mulatto, so I have, half of my family's white and other things, but mainly white, and half of my family's black. And so I took at least black history seriously. I would have remembered this. This isn't like something that I would have just brushed off and I don't remember it now or something. So anyway, this is brand new to me. It popped up on my calendar yesterday. I got on Google today, and it said, there's this holiday. And then I'm like, what's this new holiday? And I find out it's been around for 155 years. This is actually the holiday for the emancipation, I guess, in Texas. Actually, I'll just read what it is here. This is just the wiki on it. Also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Liberation Day, Emancipation Day. But it's known as Juneteenth. It's a holiday celebrating the emancipation of those who have been enslaved in the United States, originating in Texas. It is now celebrated annually on the 19th of June throughout the United States, with varying official recognition. Specifically, it commemorates Union Army General Gordon Granger announcing federal orders in Galveston, Texas on June 19th of 1865, proclaiming that all slaves in Texas were free. So I guess what happened is, of course, Abraham Lincoln had already had his Emancipation Proclamation, but some states like Texas that were sort of far away and didn't have a big military force to enforce the new laws didn't get rid of slavery. In fact, there was another couple of places that didn't get it until it was even later than Texas. So yeah, this is, I'm looking at this, and for me, I look it up, and then I see there's a movie coming out this year about it. There's apparently a Juneteenth pageant, or at least there's a movie about a Juneteenth pageant. Whether the pageant's real or not, I'm not really sure. I haven't really gotten that far. I'm just kind of, it's kind of a jaw-dropping moment, because I see all these race things going on, all this flare-up, and then what appears to be this Mandela effect dealing directly with it, that appears to be a positive change, in my opinion, from what I look. It looks like a positive thing. It's just, in the pageant, even the movie, it was celebrating young black women and just encouraging them and stuff. So from what I've seen, everything looks positive to me. So I'd like to get everybody in the chat to chime in as to how long you've known about this holiday. How long have you known about Juneteenth? Have you just heard about it recently? Or have you known about this your entire life? So no one I've talked to has heard of it other than two people. I think Cynthia Sue Larson said she heard about it in 2015 and was kind of surprised about it back then and felt like it was sort of Mandela effect-ish at the time. And then Lauren Canal-Pavelka chimed in and said, now this is what's interesting. She remembers it, I believe she said, since she was a little girl or a teenager or something. So for her, this isn't a Mandela effect. She's always known about it. But guess where she lives? In Texas. So is this one of those, quantum Zeno effects or Xeno effects or whatever it's called, where when you're too close to a change, sometimes you don't notice it? Okay, so we have some people that's heard of it. Silver Moon, where do you live? Oh, okay, yeah, Sarah's heard of it. She's in Texas. That would be interesting if Silver Moon is also. Yeah, like when Cynthia said, she said she was just kind of, I guess it was not really just celebrated as widely as some of the other holidays, but I don't know. My family was always looking for a reason to barbecue and stuff. So, see there? Everyone so far that remembers this holiday is from Texas, so they're real close to it. So with that, and then the movie, I don't know. I got to tell you, it's feeling a lot like a Mandela effect. For those who just happen to stumble onto this, you're like, what are you talking about, Mandela effect? Have you ever heard of this holiday? If you're like, no, I haven't heard of this holiday, there's something called the Mandela effect. And what's interesting is the whole Mandela effect conference kicks off tomorrow. How interesting is this? That so much is happening. Here we are at the summer solstice. We've got this is a brand new Mandela effect for me. I'm like looking at this more, I'm like, no, there's no way I wouldn't have known about this, you guys. I'm just telling you. Even if it wasn't really celebrated, I can't see not knowing that this was, I knew, of course, there was instances like this, but I didn't know this was an actual holiday, So, Oh, yeah. Let's see. Yep, I'm from St. Louis originally, but I've been, I live on a border state to Texas now. I live in Oklahoma, and I've been here since, for 11 years. So, I don't know. I just feel like I would have heard about it, you guys. Let's see. Okay, so you knew about it in grade school, Alva. You're Arizona or California or both? I don't know. I don't know if he's going to call in tonight. That'd be cool if he wanted to. I think Eileen was going to call in since we got the start of the conference, but she might be tied up with something. I sent her a message. It's like, hey, can you come on? And I'm like, because I don't think we're going to be able to do a show tomorrow night because the conference is going to run too late. And then they've got this big rally in town. I've actually got to get with Shiny. She's supposed to be going there. And I was thinking I might go down to this rally. Trump's coming in town and, I don't know, film some stuff or something. And I really don't know what Shiny's got planned, but I thought it'd be kind of cool. And then she's going to hashtag the channel or whatever. But maybe, I don't know. So it's like so much going on that I don't even know if I have time. But I don't think, even with the conference going late, I don't think we're going to have time for a show because it's supposed to go until 9, which we would be getting a really late start, 9 Eastern. So I'm not sure about that. So she's supposed to maybe call in, and I'm like, plus I got to talk to you about Juneteenth, Eileen, come on, she would have heard about this, right? She nope. She's like, what's Juneteenth? I'm like, whew. Okay, I think we got ourselves a Mandela effect, I think Cynthia just got here 5 years in this timeline, 5 years before us or something maybe. Who knows how it works. So, yeah, that's crazy, you guys. But the way I think it might relate with other things going on, I don't know. You guys, okay, so we had problems last week calling in. If you guys have problems, I didn't complain. They asked a little survey of how it went, and I said people couldn't call in. And they said, oh, have you tried this alternate number? I'm like, no, because you didn't tell me about it. So now I've got it on the screen. So if you're in the United States, you've got 2 options to call. But I don't know. I think people were trying to call in, like, Nancy, weren't you trying to call the Canadian number? Not really sure. Not sure if that was just the American number causing problems or what. At any rate, let's see. That's so funny. People get saying, what's Juneteenth? Juneteenth, for those of you just coming in late that have not heard of it, like many of us, I believe it could be a Mandela effect because I really believe I would have really feel like I would have known about the holiday like this, especially not being, around, because most all of the holidays for celebrating Black history are either in February or like, I want to say like Martin Luther King's birthday is like right before. Let me see what I got here. Anyway, it's just all right around beginning of the year for me. So something in the summer like this, I don't know. So anyway, it's a holiday basically celebrating the emancipation when an order was given in Texas declaring slaves free. One of the last states to do so. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Let's see, 7. Oh, you don't have your hand up. I'm assuming you want to talk, though. 727? Who's on the line with me? Hey, how's it going?
I'm using my new work phone.
Oh, okay. Okay, so...
And I'm trying to see where I plug in. Do I need my headphones so it doesn't make, like, a funny noise?
Actually, you sound fine. If you can hear, I'd say we can roll with this. If it starts messing up, I'll let you know. So, everybody, this is Eileen from tomorrow night's show, which we might not be able to do. It might run a little bit long. I'm not really sure. But, Eileen, what do you think of this? Juneteenth. Don't you feel like you would have heard about it?
I think so. I've never heard of this before. I don't think anybody has, have they, in our chat?
I had two people before the chat. I think most people in the chat are from Texas that's heard of it, and that's where it sort of originated. So basically, on June 19th, it's the holiday celebrating the emancipation of those who have been enslaved in the United States, but it was originating in Texas. It is now celebrated annually on the 19th of June throughout the United States with varying official recognition. Specifically, it commemorates Union Army General Gordon Granger announcing federal orders in Galveston, Texas, which is why I think the people in Texas know about it, on 19th of June, 1865, proclaiming that all slaves in Texas were free. There were, I guess, 2 holdout states that would, over the next couple of years or something, finally followed suit. But that's the date that they celebrated on because I guess, Texas is the biggest. I don't know.
That's kind of cool. I lived in Texas and worked there briefly, kind of a college job, like in the summer when you're out of college.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, I was there in June and didn't hear anything about it. That was Houston, and that was 1981. And we used to go to Galveston a lot, and we got hit by, that was then the largest hurricane the United States had ever seen. It was Hurricane Alicia. And, no, I didn't hear anything about that then when I was
Well, Silvermoon's
Texas.
saying that even though I guess it's been around since that happened 155 years ago, but it looks like he's saying they actually started celebrating it in 1920. So that's still 100 years of celebrating this. That, I don't know. I just feel like
I think it's cool. I think it's really cool, but today's the first I've heard of it, and I actually lived and worked in Houston and went to Galveston all the time. So you think they'd, I don't know, somebody there would know about it? And I was there during the whole month of June. I was there for all of, June, July, August.
That is, man, that's so wild because, I'm saying, where do you live at, Allison? They've been celebrating it since 1999. So we have some people haven't heard of it at all. Some people have. And you know what? The fact that it's in June would have really stuck out to me. It's like, it almost seems like everything that celebrates Black history is January, February. February is Black History Month. But I think either, I want to say President's Day or Abraham Lincoln's birthday or Martin Luther King's birthday was in the end of January or something like that. So, but it was still all right there at the beginning of the year for me.
I think it's really interesting because that's quite a significant date and a celebration that we wouldn't all have learned that or known that.
And it's right at the solstice as well. I remember actually having a conversation that why don't we have a holiday on the solstice like we have Christmas on it? I've even looked for a holiday on the 20th. Why wouldn't I have seen this one on the 19th when I was looking for that one? It makes no sense to me. And I think it's awesome because there's actually a movie. Did you hear me say there's a movie coming out, a 2020 movie called, what is it, the Juneteenth Pageant. And it's all these young Black girls that are, getting motivated to, it's like a pageant, and they're, competing or whatever. But it's like, I don't know, it just seemed like a really positive thing, a motivating type thing for young Black women and stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is really awesome. And it just felt like with all this other stuff going on that maybe we shifted. Maybe things are shifting to the positive because to me, this seems totally like a positive shift from what I've seen so far.
I would think so, that it feels like a positive celebration.
And this movie about it,
Yeah, and it's very strange that it's around the solstice because to me, the solstice for the summer has always been June 21st or 22nd, but now I've heard it can vary between the 19th to the 23rd. Have you heard that or read that?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. It's just so strange. So many things that we thought were one way are, are they Mandela affected? Were they just wrong? I mean, some of these things you can't really be wrong about it. I mean, you can easily calculate what days or what, but somehow they got it wrong.
I agree. It's really hard to know for certain if it is a Mandela effect. Like, it would be hard to prove, but for me, it kind of is. I don't know how they would keep that secret, and I'm 59 now, until I was 59. It's
Right.
like, why would I just learn about it right now,
Yeah. Yeah, anybody filling in the shifts right now? Because I don't know. I've had a few ringing in the ear things happen, and then when this happened, I noticed this morning because I got on the Google, and how they'll do the little custom logo, and I saw it again, and I'm like, Juneteenth, what is this? And I went and looked into it. I'm like, wait a minute. They're making such a big deal about it that why didn't I notice them this time last year? I'm Googling something every day. Is this the first time they've ever mentioned it on Google or anywhere?
What about that other big one? And I know it's not being presented as a Mandela effect, but the recalculation of the Mayan calendar, which Cynthia Sue Larson will go into in depth in her discussion during the International Mandela Effect Conference coming up starting tomorrow.
Yeah,
I think she's
tomorrow.
not talking about it though until during the week. When is she going to be presenting? Do you remember when Cynthia's on?
I want to say Wednesday, I think.
Oh, I think you're right. I think it's Wednesday. So she'll be talking then, not exclusively about this, but she's going to talk about the recalculation of the Mayan calendar, where it didn't actually end because they've I'm guessing that because they've messed around with our current calendar so much, adding years, taking away years, popes would do that because they wanted to start their reign on like a really important number. So they would just literally erase 15 years and change the date of the calendar for everybody. And I don't know, there's other reasons too that apparently the Mayan calendar actually ends tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day of that Mayan calendar. Now, if the Mayans were still around, they might just start a new calendar for an entirely new age, right?
Right, but it was like the end of the cycle, at least the end of the cycle or the end of the age as they saw it. And then, they did teleport somewhere, right? They're gone. Or at least we know they're gone.
We know that we have the end of the Piscean age now, and we have the beginning of the Aquarian age now. So that really fits in nicely with the way the Mayans calculated it.
So yeah, that I'm going to paraphrase it, but because I got the email. So basically, the Gregorian calendar is off by like 8 days or something like that. So if you take 8 times the amount of years that they've done that, and you shifted it, it would come out to 8.5 years or 7.5 years, whatever it is, to end up tomorrow. And that's kind of my loose translation of it. Is that close enough, Eileen?
Yeah, that sounds right. Plus,
Like that, yeah.
I don't know, some people, was it a Russian scientist who recalculated that we're somewhere in, like, they've added 300 years to the calendar as well, to our current calendar. Have you ever come across that?
No, I haven't. But if they did that, they just really threw it all off, didn't they?
Yeah, apparently the calendar's all messed up anyway, which I always found interesting because I used to think when I was a kid, well, who says that it's 1975? According to who? Like, who gets to pick the date and the year, what is the real year? And of course the Hebrew calendar, isn't that in like its 5,000th year? Isn't it something like 5,000 and some years?
I don't know.
Today? Yeah.
Let's see. Sarah saying, is it the Ethiopian calendar? That's the one thing that I realize is that if you think about, all the various groups or whatever, like the Hebrews, for instance, always having the Sabbath celebrated, you know, there's going to be certain groups that their calendar they've kept accurate, I would think, anyway, an accurate time, you know? Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, and plus the calendars always change based on, although ours hasn't changed in a long time, the Hebrew one hasn't changed in a long time.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
What? It's like, how do you start a new calendar and say, well, as of now, this year, this is year one. We're going to make this year one. It's like, I believe the last calendar was all based on the life and crucifixion of Christ, right? It was after death and before Christ, and then they've changed it to be non-denominational, non-religious, to BCE and CE for current era,
right,
and before current era.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Innate Healer saying, the Mayan calendar, the new back tune is June 21st this year. Oh, that's a question. Yeah, I believe so. Or at least that's the going level. Yeah. Tune in to Cynthia on Wednesday Wednesday and see what she has to say about it. But I think it's really interesting. I mean, and then the fact that we lined up our conference around that day too, that's of course going to be, or you said the 21st, that's Father's Day then, right? Yeah. I think it's the 21st.
But I think the actual calendar ends on the 20th.
Oh, and the new one
begins on the 21st.
On Father's Day. Interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And if all time is happening all at once anyway, you know, if it's all happening at once.
Mm-hmm. So exciting, though.
These could just be signposts of shifts. They could be shifting signposts, like the Juneteenth, which I've never heard of.
That's
and
so
getting
wild.
Back to shifting, I have been very, very active, like entertaining guests and people from out of state who are finally coming back to Florida and stuff like that. But I've been extremely tired. And I know we don't like to add to our feelings because we can catch them. It's like catching a yawn. But I'm finding that these energies require more sleep, maybe more dream time to process them. I don't know. But my dreams have been off the charts, vivid and memorable. Like, usually I don't wake up remembering them, just the last one. But now I can remember most of them. And they're quite interesting. And I feel, you know, I haven't checked the Schumann to see if the Schumann has been extremely active in terms of spiking. Has it been spiking high every day lately? I haven't checked it.
Let me, let's see here. I haven't looked in a few days. No, actually, I've been noticing some spots where it seems like it almost just completely goes away, which is pretty strange to me. Like almost completely loses the little bands that go across there. Now, Alan and Sandra are in here, Twin Flame Divine Fire radio couple. They're saying having eye issues, like a glitch in the Matrix all day. It's really freaky. I've had 2 of those. One, I was out looking at the stars, and it was almost like it was almost like I was looking at the reflection of it in a pond, and a ripple or something went through it, right? Really strange. The other time was, what was I looking at? I was looking at something that should have been straight, but it looked like it wobbled a little bit. But I could tell it was just my perception of it wobbled, and it seemed like a glitch in the Matrix, just like you guys are talking about. So that it only happened twice.
Was it your eye, or was it the object? I mean, did you feel like your eye was not seeing properly, or did you feel like the Matrix was not being seen properly? What did you feel like? And was it one eye or both eyes?
I felt like it was in my head, like the actual simulation glitched, and my perception of it glitched because of it. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah.
So it didn't feel like my eyes did anything weird, and it didn't feel like it really happened. You know what I'm saying? It didn't feel like I was really seeing it. It was almost like when you see that heat wave effect coming off the street, you know, but it wasn't like just, you know, you can tell it's coming off the street or off the top of a car when you see that. And this just kind of, you know, affected the whole range of vision, sort of, you know, like it was just a glitch. Oh, your eyes hurt when it happens? It happens so quick. I don't know that I don't know if it hurts. It's not bad if it does. I haven't noticed. But you haven't noticed anything? What'd you say?
Occasionally, I've had one eye, my left eye, go out of focus. And the only reason it feels really strange is because the right eye is not going out of focus. It doesn't hurt, but I thought, I better look that up and see if that's an eye thing. But it is kind of it's like where the matrix in front of me, it doesn't go blurry, it just goes out of focus. So that my eyes are not seeing 2020, they're not seeing together.
Right.
One is seeing the waves around everything, and the other is seeing everything solid, the way I'm supposed to see it, right, and experience it, even though everything solid is made up of waves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting to think of that in the waves, because that's exactly what it kind of looked like, was a wave. Other people are having issues with their eyes. Let's see, what did I see? Because I've been having, you remember I was telling you how I had like 3 eye styes? I got a 4th one now. Like, I didn't even notice it, but I just pulled my eyelid down to see if the one had gone away, and I noticed there was another one coming up. So I have no idea why. I've never had an issue with it getting styes in my eye. Maybe 3 to 5 in my whole life up until now. So it's almost like just, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I did start taking colloidal silver, so I'm hoping that if it is something like just getting in my eye from the sky or something, because I do a lot of sky gazing, so who knows if it's getting clogged up with whatever they're spraying or something. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly, whatever's in the air.
Right. So, yeah, so I don't know. This is so interesting that this is happening now with all this other stuff happening, and I've really felt, I don't know about everyone else, but and I don't know if it's coming up on the solstices doing it, but I've really felt sort of like a load lift. Do you know what I mean?
What's a low lift?
A load, like it just feels like lighter. It's feeling lighter. But I haven't been watching the news either. That could be it could be because I just turned the TV off. Who knows? Or I don't even ever really do that anyway. But I haven't even been checking on what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, low. That'll make you feel better.
Yeah.
Most stuff anyway. If something comes up that's big, I get it. I get it in a message or a messenger.
Mm-hmm. At any rate, I mean,
I can't focus on it either.
Even putting that in the title, maybe somebody that knew about Juneteenth already come across this, or other people that are like, "What's this Juneteenth?" and they come across this, and they've never heard of it too, and maybe it was a little, trigger for people to see about the Mandela Effect. Here it is so anybody that's just stumbled across this, just so you know, tomorrow we kick off the free online Mandela Effect conference. And you can, it's linked below, just below the title and the description below. So please do come over and join and hear all about the Mandela Effect. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, and there's going to be so many speakers across so many days on so many different topics. It's like, it's the Mandela Effect and things related to it, like shamanism and consciousness and rebuilding and restructuring your life the way you want to design it as kind of the designer of your life. If everything is malleable and flexible, then you're limitless. What you can achieve and do in a lifetime has no bounds, has no limits.
Wow. That's one of the things that actually, it's so funny you said that. It's like, that was sort of my conclusion to my whole talk. I mean, I won't spoil it too much, but it's like
spoiler alert.
Well, that's the title for this year's conference is Revelations of the Mandela Effect. So really, it's like, what is the Mandela Effect revealing to us. And, you know, of course, my last talk, I got into some of the messages I found in the changes. But lately, I've been noticing some of the tiniest, most minute changes. The minutia of the Mandela Effect. You can't even really, you can just say, oh, it just sounds a little different. I don't know what to tell you. It's just, it's not like I can say, was it this lyric or was it this lyric? It's like I can't even break it down. It's so tiny of a change. So it's like, that was getting to the fact that what you were just saying, that everything's malleable, everything is fluid and dynamic and changeable. And it's not really like when a Mandela Effect change happens, it's not that something went from one solid object and changed into another solid object. It's just that it was always a wave, a particle of potential that, you know, changed, and it never was solid. You know, what's the spoon thing? That
how we observe things determines how they are.
Right.
So two people observing the same thing might describe it differently, which if you change your observations, you change your world. I don't know who said that. That sounds like something somebody famous said. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, don't wait for your world to change so that you can change. Change your observations about the world, and then the world will follow and change the way you're seeing it. I don't know. It's really fascinating, isn't it? I think there might be limitations, like if you're going to do things that harm others. To me, that would be like limited and difficult to do, but so long as what you want to experience is going to at least not harm anybody, maybe even benefit everybody. You know, it seems like sometimes the universe gets behind things when you're doing it for all, instead of just doing it for you. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah. Laura Lee thinks it was Einstein that said that. I was thinking it might have been Einstein, too.
Oh, okay. Well, I would not be surprised. I think I read a book once of Einstein's quote. There's a whole book on it that he said. So just pulled that out of a synapse somewhere.
Janice is getting the eye styes, too. Is that new for you, Janice? It's like brand new for me. I never dealt with that before. So I like to put stuff out there because it's just no reason that, I don't know. I've even thought, you know, maybe it's the brand of oil, you know, because I use an oil diffuser or whatever, essential oil diffuser, and I was thinking maybe the brand, but I've really thought about this hard because it's, you know, I just don't know. I can't rule anything out, though, you know. And an eye sty is something that doesn't really go away really quick, so it's hard to...
It doesn't.
Hard to tell what's helping it, and I don't know. It's really more of a nuisance than anything.
Well, I hope it goes away then.
Uh-oh. I was saying Kennedy or Einstein. I don't know.
Ooh, Kennedy.
Okay, so it's new for her, too. Changing the way you look at things. Oh, wait. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. Or was it Max Planck? It could have been Max Planck.
That's kind of what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Change the way you look at things, and the things you are looking at will change.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, you know, the power of consciousness. Yeah. Also, what's really interesting is consciousness science is fairly new-ish and hasn't been taken seriously or examined because it's like, where does consciousness come from? And when it exits this body and this matrix, where does it go?
Yeah.
You know, the whole idea of consciousness, it's like the last great mystery to explore.
Yeah.
Human consciousness.
Really is. That's why you can tell it's time for graduation, as they say, you know. It's time for us to move into, there's just certain things about just the way we are as a planet, as a species, that shouldn't be, you know what I mean? People starving, things we talk about all the time, that for the level of technology, just the level that we're at, especially if they bring out all these hidden technologies that could completely change the world. Think about it, everything comes from energy. So if we had free energy, it would be a completely different planet.
Yeah, and maybe that's part of the litmus test, or the thing about, do you continue to experience a 3D matrix, or do you start to experience a different kind of matrix. And maybe it has to do with wanting to understand consciousness. Because if you get kind of stuck in 3D, we're like, oh, that's when you're stuck in like bills and competition, and you know, it's always about the physical, isn't it? Beauty, who's beautiful, who's ugly, who's fat, wear this makeup, you're beautiful, eat this food, you'll be attractive. You know, that whole physicality, like focusing on only the physical, and then people are like, well, no, I'm not really interested in that. I'm interested in consciousness. Where does my consciousness come from? And where is it going after this? And maybe those people are the ones who have to move up, level up into a different kind of reality so they can explore their consciousness more.
Exactly. You know, Janice is bringing out something that I went through before I actually woke up to the Mandela Effect, probably about a year before, and I've talked about it before, but it's worth mentioning again because she's bringing it up. My eyes are going through a lot of changes, and I'm seeing things differently. I see rainbows around all types of lights, car headlights or a light bulb in the house. Who's seeing the rainbows? So I noticed about...
That reminds me of Vincent van Gogh, or Van Gogh. He saw lights shimmering around all lights. And if it's not a energetic bulb made of gases, I can see the Van Gogh shimmering. It's a shimmer around all lights. Can you do that? Can you just like look at a light, change your focus a little bit, and see the shimmer around it, like shooting out from it?
Where it actually looks like it's going out, little lines are going out?
Yeah, lines going out.
Oh, okay.
Lines coming out.
Okay, so this is...
Do you see that?
I noticed this at about 3 a.m. on to about, I don't know, 6 a.m. What you're talking about, like around street lights and stuff like that. And I can tell it's not in my eyes, right? I can tell it's like actually something in the air. And I think it's, I've just come to the conclusion it's the stuff falling out of the sky. But I don't know. Maybe not.
I can see it in my room, in my house. If I turn lights on at night.
Okay.
But I don't see rainbows. Seeing rainbows is super cool. You know, that was awesome. I'd love to see rainbows. I mean, I see them in the sky when it rains. It rains a lot here.
Right, but it's more
Florida.
like I know what Janice is talking about. It's not so much that it's like you're seeing a rainbow out of it. It's just you notice the full range of colors. So like what I would notice is I'd be walking into a store and the light would hit the door a certain way as I'm walking in. And I was like, where did I just see, you know, iridescent colors at? The rainbow. I would see, you know, and then I've noticed it on street signs and stuff. They're all looking rainbowy now. Like the light hits them a certain way and they look all rainbowy. Now that's actually not in my eyes. That's actually there. That they didn't do that before, but they're doing it now. Anybody can see this. You know, and then around the clouds.
I haven't seen it yet, but that's cool.
Yeah, if you look around the clouds, it's like cotton candy, colorful cotton candy at times. You'll see it, and it's like you'll see orange and greens and blues and purples and just all the colors. You'll just see them all, and it's like, oh my gosh, look at all those colors up there. So I don't know. There's a lot of rainbows just in different things. Or you'll just see it out of the corner of your eye when a light flashes or something like that. But some of it seems like it's the eyes changing, and some of it seems like, I don't know, like the Rainbow Mountains. Those clearly are really like that, you know.
Yeah, I love it. That's really cool.
So it's like we're changing right in front of us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool.
So one of the things, did I ever talk to you about the coronavirus Mandela Effect? Did you remember it being separate words, coronavirus?
I do, but I remember it being two separate words as soon as it started, which was like December, January.
Yeah.
And then it quickly became one word, coronavirus, and then it became COVID-19, which I think Sherry broke down really well into like some kind of ID thing, like identification, like corona, COVID, virus, identification, 2019, because it started before 2020.
Yeah.
But I heard you talking about, you saw it on like Lysol, right? As 3 separate words, the coronavirus.
I think on the Lysol one might have just had coronavirus as 2 separate words. I can't remember if it had the. I think it did have the on it, actually, the coronavirus. Yeah. Pretty sure it did.
So
but I definitely know it was
morphing
2
and
separate
changing
words.
it.
Yeah. I definitely know coronavirus were
coming
separate.
Together.
Yeah.
And you see it as like words coming together shows us coming together. It's like unity, right? The oneness of everything. You're seeing it in words.
Right. As they're using the coronavirus to separate us, coronavirus was actually coming together. That was just funny.
How ironic,
Right.
you know? Well,
but I don't
just
know.
an aside, just an aside, if you guys will just take a peek at Ben Swan's YouTube channel. He's independent now. He used to be an investigative reporter for like NBC, and he got fired for speaking out about elite pedophile rings. So he lost his whole career, and now he's independent. And he is sharing research from Australia. 5 scientists. Who knows if it's true? We'll find out, right? Eventually, we use our heart instinct to guide us. The 5 researchers in Australia who are developing a vaccine for that country said this strain of coronavirus, one word, COVID-19, has never been in the wild. It has no animal affiliation. In fact, an animal can't catch it. It is completely a human thingy. So
interesting.
That's
okay,
very interesting.
Cornelius is saying that because Corona, the alcohol company, complained, they changed it to COVID. So here's the official history that I've seen, right? So most of us think that, like you just said, that it went from coronavirus, 2 separate words, to coronavirus, and then to COVID-19. But officially, that first part never happened. You can't go and find it separate like we remember it. Like Lauren just put it in her. Yeah. So when I went back to other things I'd watched, and they had all merged into coronavirus. Some of the very first press briefings and stuff. Yeah, exactly.
I remember it separate. For sure. Like 100%.
Yeah.
In fact, I still wrote it separate, and I still do. Because I saw it that way, I refuse to merge it. Not that I write it very often, but if I do write it, I'll write it corona and then space virus.
Right. And what's interesting about that, though, when you do it as coronavirus, you're saying it's the crown virus or the something virus, right? You're labeling it as a virus. But if you name it coronavirus, it's not even technically a virus anymore, is it? You just named it that. It's just in the name. You've just put it on the label. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
to
that's
think
like
about
word
it that
power, word magic.
Yeah.
It's a little different to sigils. Sigils are more symbols that you make out of the words, but word magic. So words are extremely powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a really cool one, and I found that out right before I went on the air, and I was like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe that one switched. So we're seeing all these changes happen. I think there's quite a few of them. I've just been so busy with, ironically, the Mandela Effect conference that I haven't been able to keep up with the actual changes.
Yeah. But this is what we wanted when we were doing our Saturday Night Live meditations.
Mm-hmm.
We were hoping that a lot of people would wake up. And we didn't specify how. And one of the best ways to wake up a lot of people is for the people in charge of things to go too far, to push things too far so they show their hand.
Yeah.
And that wakes up a lot of people.
It sure does, yeah. And that's what they're doing now. I mean, I don't know, it just hearing some of what you hear when you're just out in these rural areas and hearing people talk, and just to hear the words, the word is getting out, by the way. People are like, I don't know about this, their solution, the V word that they're wanting to inject into people.
Yep.
They're already saying stuff, I don't know about that. It's got this ink in it and these tracking devices, and I'm overhearing these people in this little town I drove through, and I'm like, oh, thank God, the word's getting out. You know what I mean? I didn't even have to say anything.
Yeah.
I just overheard it. So So yeah,
Just
it's getting
overheard
out.
it.
Yeah.
I listened to the guy who did the movie Vax. I wish I could remember his name. Is it Bill something? I'll send it to you if I can find it. And he was the producer on the show The Doctors. And now he's famous for having produced the movie Vax, because it was going to premiere in all these movie festivals, and it got banned from all of them. And as soon as it got dropped from all the movie festivals, it went viral online. And like millions and millions of people have seen it, because it became something that you weren't allowed to see.
Right.
And yeah, so I caught a video of him saying that the current trials, he's looking into them, the actual public data on the trials. And he said what's interesting is the human trials on the CV thingy are not showing immediate harm or damage to animals. They're testing them all on ferrets for some reason, only ferrets. Don't ask me why. And the problem is when they then expose the ferrets to the CV, the actual virus, they get it like 100 times worse and die. And he's like, well, wait a minute. If we can survive it in the wild, whereas most people don't know they've had it, and the really vulnerable people are the elderly or people who are sick, so we need to keep them safe from it. It appears that the vaccine is doing the opposite and making everybody who's immune to it really susceptible to it if you come in contact with it after you've had the vaccine. So I'm like, he's going, I don't understand, because that would increase the mortality rate from less than 1% to 50%. And in my head, all the alarm bells are going off. Ding, 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 ding. This guy hasn't read the Georgia Guidestones, apparently. So I'm like, this is interesting, but it's making sense to me, not in a good way.
Right. Yeah, I just think, I don't know, it just seems like people should have the right to take their chances, but they're framing it in the way that makes it look like, well, you're just selfish if you want to do that, because there's other people that you're not being considerate of, But it's like, I don't want to be...
But I think it's pretty clear that the death rate's pretty small. I think even the CDC came out with it, and the WHO and all those people said that it's less than 1%. It's really small. It's, it's a very survivable thing at the moment.
For those of you just coming in, people are asking about Juneteenth. So Juneteenth is today's holiday in the United States, celebrating the emancipation of slavery 155 or so years ago. And they've been celebrating it since 1920, yet most people I've talked to haven't heard of it. So sounds like it's a positive shift. It sounds like it's a good holiday, and it's one that we should know about. So either way, it's one we should know about. Whether it's a Mandela effect or not can be discussed, but it is for me. It's brand new for me, for sure.
I think it's cool that it's been around. I like bumping into things that are brand new. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. But then I'm like, is that a Mandela effect, or did I just not know about it? It's like I can't always know. I can't always figure it out.
That's funny you said that, because it's like I came across that, and I love Kimberly Lynn Hansen for this, because she's always really positive about change, just letting go of the old and embracing the new. And I had that happen with the version of "Come Together" by Aerosmith, originally done by the Stones, Rolling Stones, but the Aerosmith version sounds different now. So it sounds like a different version. So my first thought was, wow, a new version. And then my second thought was, oh my gosh, that old version I knew is just like it never existed. It's just gone, So you can focus on the new, you can focus on the loss. And, that's another revelation of the Mandela effect. Where do we put our attention? Where do we put our focus when we see these things happening,
Well, in old-fashioned psychology, they do have like the external locus of control versus the internal, and the people who externalize the control feel like victims of things, and they're like, oh my God, everything's, this is so scary, I have no control. And then people who are naturally, internally feeling that that's where the control is internal, they're like, oh, that's cool, it's changing, it's a new opportunity, it's a different version, how awesome. So there tends to be a positive and a negative kind of perception in people where they used to do these personality tests. And I'm not saying that anybody's going to be stuck negative forever, because they can then change their perception and say, well, wait a minute, I'm not going to feel like this Mandela effect is just happening to me. I'm going to feel like I'm a part of it. I'm a part of what's happening. I'm a part of it, and I get to be part of it by experiencing it. You know what I mean? It's just is the glass half full or half empty? I've always been a half full person. I'm like, yeah, I got half a glass of something, you know, whereas other people might see it and feel like, oh my God, it's almost gone. It's only half full. So I think we can change our personality to be more positive, especially if we're challenged. And we see most of the Mandela effects don't harm anybody or harm anything, right? They're pretty innocuous. They don't hurt anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I've often said that. I'm
really
like,
to be afraid of.
Some of the theories going around that it's the dark side doing this, I'm like, I think they would do something a lot worse. Right? Sinkholes opening up underneath churches, or you know what I mean?
Fire and brimstone, yes.
Right.
Not changing song lyrics.
Right, not changing the song lyric, not, you know, I don't know. I think they're revelations of truth. If you know, the Dolly need the braces, that, you know, a lot of these with the thinker statue, just all of that leading me. And I think this is great because I've heard other people get completely different messages, and that's why I encourage everybody to go get your own messages, you know. But I thought it was really cool that multiple people came from with the left and the right brain, the balancing, the divine feminine. And this is like stuff that people in spiritual communities have been talking about for a while. So, and I didn't know, you know, I was new to this whole thing. So it's pretty cool.
You know, I saw a picture where they sliced the brain in half, and inside of it is the Eye of Horus. It goes into the brainstem. And when I was studying the ancient mystery schools, they said that there was the right eye of Horus, which is advanced knowledge for everybody, for the benefit of all. And then there was the left eye of Horus, which was the service to self, advanced occult knowledge only to serve your little tiny community with secret handshake.
And that's the celebrities covering the one eye and stuff.
Exactly. And when you look at the brain and you cut it in half and then you put it on its side, that's where you get the left eye and the right eye of Horus. It's on the brain. Actually, it's in the middle of the brain, and it gets cut in two. It defines the two sides of human thinking, right? The logical side versus the creative side. And the most well-adapted people use both hemispheres, right? They bounce back and forth, and they're very creative and very logical.
So I'm trying to think, does it look like the left eye then? If you're looking at the right hemisphere of the brain and you're looking at that half, does it look like?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to just like do the cut with my hand and then lay it down. So now I'm looking at the right side of the brain laying down on a piece of table, and it goes off, the eyelashes go off to the right. So that would be...
the left eye, then.
Which eye? Would that be the left eye?
I don't know.
Is it opposite, like they say, the opposite hemisphere rules the opposite side of the body? Like, if you move your left hand and your left foot, that's coming from signals in the right side of your brain, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's opposites for the gross motor skills, at least. Yeah. Or the motor skills in general. Now the thinking, I'm not sure.
The right hemisphere.
There's some weird stuff with
the left eye.
Yeah.
It would be the opposite eye. Interesting. So the right hemisphere, when cut and laid down, would contain the left eye of Horus, and the left hemisphere would contain the right eye of Horus.
Very cool.
Very dualistic, very lefty-righty.
Opposite hemispheres, yes, General says. So that makes me wonder, okay, so...
in a world that has light and dark and men and women and good and bad and hot and cold and up and down and, there's the duality here is immense. Immense.
Mm-hmm. But that's sort of where we're trying to get back to, right? Trying to bridge that, bring that balance.
I'd love to see a reality matrix without duality, where everything was in kind of a fuzzy, energetic harmony. What would that matrix look like? I don't know.
You know what? I can't even imagine it because, we typically think of like things as good or bad, but everything's really a relationship. You can't have white without black. You can't have, dark without light. How pretty would stars be without the black background? I mean, everything's totally dependent on how good smells. And I know we've had this discussion with other people before, but I mean, every single thing is like a coin. You got two sides of it, and a range in between.
What if the whole universe is in duality? What if the whole dimension is in duality? The whole universe, the whole dimension,
Right, but at some point you have to switch from duality and move to relationship, right? And then the relationship isn't so opposed, maybe, at some point? Do you know what I mean?
I do, and I feel like that's the singularity. It's not about AI and human. To me, the singularity has always been going into unity with God or unity with source energy. I've never considered it an AI thing. How about you?
No.
When you think of singularity, becoming absolutely one with something, what's that going to be? It's not going to be with a computer or artificial intelligence. It's going to be with God or source energy.
Consciousness, yeah. And that's sort of what we see with, the sixth density Ra was a social memory complex. So it was basically a group that was all of one accord. They were individuals, but in complete unity. There's, no secrets, no strife,
That makes sense to me. That's kind of like how Esther describes Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham's a group, just like Ra. And then when I look at my body and I understand the cells and how they work in my body, I'm like, hey, those cells are me. But the liver cells are quite different in size and shape and function to the heart cells.
Mm-hmm.
But the heart cells are me and the liver cells are me. But they're quite different. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
They're different but together, but different but the same.
Yeah, and essentially that's sort of what, if you think of it like a tree, we might be all different branches and feel like separate, just like your fingers feel separate from one another. If they all had their individual consciousness, they'd be arguing over which way the hand's going to go. But basically we're all rooted together, right?
Yeah, I kind of see that as like the body of God and like the fingers are the people, and they're like, no, I'm individual. Look. I'm standing all by myself over here. I'm not touching anything. But, but it is. At the end of the day, it's still an extension of the body, even though it's an individual unit called the index finger, the left index finger. See how you can define, and every time you define, you separate further. Separate further. I am female. I am white. I am Christian. I am chubby. The definition keeps separating me more and more and more from other people.
And that's the first thing we do with our children. Mom, dad, happy. You know what I mean? The colors, and it's all about
male, female.
Yeah, separating things. Division.
Maybe that's how we define things. So maybe we have to separate things in order to define them, and then we can move beyond definition and become one with everything again, once we no longer require definitions or defining things around us in order to understand them.
Yeah, because if you really think about how much a label really, like if you just call a tree, you've just reduced it to 4 letters that really they don't mean anything, and they don't really encompass what a tree actually is. You know what I mean? It's just, it almost does it a disservice.
especially human labels like smart, stupid, pretty, ugly, you know, and these kids are dealing with that constantly, the labels, and they get, you know, they move out of this world where hopefully they were just loved by their family, and then they go into school, and then suddenly they start getting the labels themselves and going, what, am I really? Is that what I am? Because, you know, I don't understand this math problem. Does that mean I'm stupid? You know, so I think that just points out the problems with mass education or mass media or mass anything. Anything that tries to be for everybody just does a great disservice to most, you know?
Yeah, and, you know, I was just thinking our tree analogy, how ridiculous it would look if two of the branches were just sitting there whacking each other and, you know, killing each other off of the same tree, you know, and that's essentially what we have when we got war and stuff, you know, just two branches sitting there destroying itself.
So then both branches die.
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all. There's a lot of things that humans do as a conscious animal that make no sense at all, and war and famine is definitely two things that make no sense.
Absolutely. Looks like we have a caller from Missouri. Do you want to take a call with me?
Yeah. I mean, do this tonight instead of tomorrow night because of the conference. Do you want me to? I can head off and give you some time to chat with other people, or do you want me to stay on?
No, stick around unless you got something to do. 417, who's joining our call?
Yeah, it's Gene. What's going on, Shane?
Gene?
Yeah.
Did you Gene?
Right.
Welcome to the call. You're calling from, is that Missouri?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not too far from you.
Awesome. So are you all geared up for the Mandela Effect?
Yeah, you know, not so much. I really called in because I guess it'd be 3 years this July, next month, I guess. I was listening to a show with you and Candace. And you were talking about, you know, relatives passing and stuff, and got me thinking, you know. You did the feather thing, right? I think it was with your mom or your dad. You asked to see a feather.
That was
found
actually
a feather on your pin.
Right. Well, that was actually, there was a few feather stories, but Biker Babe was one, and I think there might have been another one with Candace. I can't really remember. I've heard a few feather
That
stories.
was like 3 years ago, almost 3 years now. But anyway, I hadn't really heard of you then, but I knew Candace. I had talked to her before, but I tried it. You know, I just lost my mother, and I asked the universe, you know, put a feather in my road, you know, so I know she's all right. Because she died in a nursing home, but I had her for 10 years before that, you know.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of time with her. But anyway, I went to the store one day, and I got a pickup truck, and I walked and got a pack of cigarettes, came out, and there's this little tuft of feathers sitting on the door handle of my truck. You know, it's July. It looked like if you plucked a bunch of, what do they call it, downy feathers.
Yeah. Off
a duck's butt and made an orb out of it. It was sitting on my door handle. And I went, and as soon as I saw it, didn't really click. And then I remembered, like, 3 or 4 days listening to you and Candace, and I went, yeah, I asked the universe to give me a sign that Mom made it okay, and that, you know, I didn't really like putting her in the nursing home. So that bothered me, and I want to make sure she was okay with that. And anyway, there was this feather, and I thought, man, I ought to grab that thing. I went to reach and get it, and it shot up in a spiral like it got caught in a vortex and went out of sight.
Oh, that is so cool. Yeah, my flower, My feather plume story like that was with after Biker Babe told me her story. I was sitting there in the car, and one fell right on my lap. I mean, right after she had told me that story, I ran to the store and came back and was just sitting there in the driveway, and it landed right in my lap. And that let me know, hey, that was a validation for her story that she had just told me, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, so, you know, there's definitely something going on the other side that we can't see.
Yep, and
That's
death isn't
awesome.
really what we think it is either. I really believe that, you know. The body dies, but the consciousness never dies.
Right, right.
Well, thank you so much, man. That was a touching story. And for anybody else, just ask for a little sign, like you did with the feather. Or it can be anything, you know.
Yeah, I tell everybody that, you know, especially I'm 65, losing a lot of friends right now, you know. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, you just get to that point, Eileen, you know.
I know what you mean, but knowing that you're getting the signs from loved ones is like, oh, okay, they're still there, they're okay, you know.
Yeah.
And it's
Which
like a
means you'll be
homegoing
okay, too.
celebration when you do go, you know. A lot of loved
It
ones
really
waiting
was.
for you.
It was just a confirmation for me on something that was bothering me, and I could let that go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice, sir, so that you didn't have to worry, did I do the right thing or not? You know that you did the right thing and that you did the best you could. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
I felt the same way. My mom got to the point where she needed 24-hour nursing care, and I couldn't do that at home because I'm not trained as a nurse. And I know she didn't like it, and I know, you know, I promised my husband and my mom, you know, I won't do that. So I didn't put them in. The doctors did. And then I'm like, okay, now I need to adjust to this and make it okay, and so we can all be good with it. And in the end, I spent as much time as I could with her there and took care of a child. And I knew that we were okay. I knew that this was okay because she needed that kind of care, you know, 24-hour nurses awake and around you all the time. So it's hard, but I don't know. It's something that we all have to deal with our own lives, I guess. Like, we're all going to be there someday, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, with my
when you come in, you have that little barcode stamped on your butt when you come into the world that has your expiration date on it. We didn't realize it till later.
Right.
That little barcode. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it was I guess with both of my parents, my wife and I actually moved in with them while they went through the whole end of life cancer and, you know, on hospice care, of course. But yeah, it was like I still had to work, but she was a stay-at-home mom, so we just moved in. He had a big enough house. But yeah, it really, I was just saying that as an example because it took two of us to provide that kind of care, and we still had a nurse that would have to come, you know, daily and stuff. So it is a lot of work. Not everybody can do that, you know.
Mom decided to have her stroke about 6 months after I got out of a major back surgery. I had 4 discs fused together, so I was kind of recouping myself. So I was hobbling around there doing the best I could with the cooking and cleaning.
Yeah. And that's all you can do. You just do your best.
10 years, you know. But yeah, I just wanted to call in and let you know thank you, because that's what led me down that path. And I've been a solid listener since. I can't remember if it was your show or Candace's show that I caught that deal on, but anyway, thank you for your service, brother. You're doing a really good job out there.
Thank you so much, Gene. I really appreciate the call.
You
bet.
So cool. You too, Eileen.
Nice to meet you, Gene.
Take care.
You too.
I love you guys.
Love you too,
Gene.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome.
Someone who's been listening to you for 3 years.
Yeah.
And something you said made a difference in Gene's life. You know, just talking about the feather story.
And that really, you know, a lot of times it's not even my story. It's just, you know, it'll be a guest or something, but it always touches my heart. And that does so much more to satisfy you you know, on the inside than anything can. Just to hear that you're helping people, making connections and stuff. So.
Because usually we don't know, but our community's so loving and reaching out like that. Call in again, Jean, and stop by on Saturday nights and do the live meditation that Shane and I do every Saturday night. We just like kind of meditate with 60 people, don't we? And then 1,000 people do it before you know it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've seen it making change. So, I mean, I've seen, all these whistleblowers coming out, and like I said, the fact that I'm going through this little town and I hear the words getting out where it wouldn't seem like people in the little town would know, but, stuff gets around. So I think the words getting out and the fact that it appears that we've had this shift with this whole Juneteenth holiday, definitely it seems like a positive thing to me. Yeah,
yep.
And go check out the movie trailer, you guys. It's called like the Miss Juneteenth, I think is the name of it. It's wild, totally wild. So, I do think we're seeing these shifts all around us, and it doesn't surprise me that we're seeing this going into the 2020 International Mandela Effect conference tomorrow. Gosh, it's so exciting. Did you get to see the montage video yet?
No, did you get to see it?
They send it around. I guess maybe they just send it around to the actual team members. So, but it looks great. It's it'll be coming out. I think it's actually going to come out tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't wait. I cannot wait to see it. How many are in the montage roughly?
I want to say it was like 7 minutes or something. So, 10 seconds a piece. What does that come out to?
Oh my God!
About
so 10 seconds apiece would be 6 a minute, and 6 times 7. So we got over 40 people, over 40 channels.
Isn't that cool?
That is super cool.
And speaking of Candace, she's in it. Yeah.
Awesome! I said to Cynthia, I said, maybe we can let that grow. Can you imagine every year if we add to it and in 5 or 10 years, the montage might be like an hour long.
Yeah. That would be cool, though, you know? Yeah. That's what I like about it, is that you're seeing faces from all walks of life, cultures, demographics of all sorts, and, it's affecting a lot of different people.
I suppose we should tell people what that montage is. It's 10 seconds, which is so short, of somebody talking about something that relates to the Mandela effect. So it could be about consciousness or shifting or anything. Yeah. And 10 seconds, boy, that is a challenge to find a video clip where on your channel you have said something in a 10-second window, Yeah,
that's tough. Yeah, actually, I went back to my very first video. I thought about using the Manuela effect part when I messed up the name. Nah.
I know, so cute. It makes me laugh. It's really sweet.
Yeah, I didn't even know the name of it. I'm messing it up, but Manuela I knew it was happening. Yeah, I caught it in editing and I put it on the screen, but yeah, that was funny.
That's cool. I saw that. I saw you put over it, you wrote the words. Oops, It's Mandela, not Manuela.
Right.
But it could be called anything, because you and I have always said it's a quantum consciousness effect.
Yeah.
But the Mandela effect, that makes it more digestible, more relatable than, the quantum consciousness effect. It's that sounds so official and scientific and kind of cold.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Let's go back to the phone lines and see who's going to join us here. 727 area code. What? That's muting you. Sorry. 986 area code. Are you there?
Hi, Shane.
Raleigh, how's it going, buddy?
Well, how you doing? Who's the guest? Is this?
This is Eileen.
Hey, Raleigh. It's Eileen from Saturday night. How are you?
Oh, hi, honey.
I'm so glad you called in, because I wanted to know more about the harmonic convergence that you talk about, because the Unify World Meditations are doing something on it now. They're doing some world meditation for the harmonic convergence. Is it coming up in July or September?
Boy, I don't think I've ever mentioned anything about harmonic convergence.
Oh, it's where you talk about Jupiter being in Virgo and something in her crown.
Oh.
It's like when all the planets come together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was in 2017, but I think that the story's still going.
Oh.
Yeah, that's my opinion. I mean, I think the story's still going. And when I was checking it out, I was like looking at the, I was just watching the, I'm not into astrology, I'm just kind of like, take it face value of what the story says, and then I look at like Mercury as like the messenger, I look at Pluto as god of the underworld, you know what I mean? Jupiter is the child,
Yeah.
and then
Saturn the father, like Kronos.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, there was like, I think it was Venus and the Sun and other stuff was just lining up, and guess when that was? It was in March of this year, and that's when all this world thing hit.
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying back in like December and January. I was saying, hey, you guys, something's going to hit in March. It just looks like it because, these planets are just lining up. This looks big. This looks really big.
Yeah.
And then, I would, you already know this, that tomorrow or today, this solar eclipse on the other side of the world, and then it being the summer solstice, it's a big deal. This is like a big weekend, huh? It's like there's a lot of stuff lining up.
Hey, Raleigh, have you heard of
this? Eclipse?
Yeah, it's big. And then I shared in Alba's room this morning about the solar eclipse. This might interest everybody in the chat. I can't see the chat room, by the way, Shane. Hey, this might interest people. Long story short, you know how I am, right? Let's see. I'm Lakota Indian. Okay, I'm Lakota Indian, all right? Okay, I'm doing this in brief and long story short and no detail. I try, I am, right? So, long story short, I'm Lakota Indian, right? Okay, I know I live in Indian country. When I was stationed in the military back east, the guys in New York City would say, are there Indians out there out west? And I go, yeah, there is. I said, we've got Indians all around us. Anyway, so the solar eclipse, this is just quick interest, and I shared it in Alva's room, was the American Indian, all the way back to the Maya Indians, they when the solar or lunar eclipse comes around, they dive inside and keep their kids in school, out of school. Yeah, all tribes, Nez Perce, Cheyenne, and they've done that for centuries. And they cover their water even. They put all their animals inside. They draw the curtains. They do not look at the solar or lunar eclipses with their eyes. And I believe it gets into even photographs. And what the tradition thing says is that it will drive you insane. Yes. And so you know what happened just recently? We had that, United States solar eclipse that went across the whole United States. Mm-hmm. And I was just screaming at everybody. I said, do not look at the eclipse. Do not look at it. Do not look at it. If you look up, I'm serious, man, look up the history of American Indian. All the way back to Maya. Mayan, Maya. One other thing I shared in the Alva room this morning, he has a avatar that's Batman. And I'm not really a big, super fan. But I don't remember the Batman suit in the 1999 Michael Keaton suit. It's wrong. It never had color on it. I don't remember yellow being on that. You know what I mean? I think
haven't
that's a
noticed. I haven't
Mandela
noticed.
effect. That's a Mandela effect for me. You know what? Who's really come around and has a great channel to listen to, and I've really been diving into his stuff, and that's Quantum of Conscience channel. You know, Matt.
Yeah, I've
He
been
posts-
watching that for years.
Oh wow, isn't he good? And Eileen, you're good too, and Shane, you are too. Hey, you guys, I just woke up. You know, I'm just like kind of a little bit dizzy, and I just woke up and called in real quick.
Have you ever heard of Juneteenth? Really?
Never in my life until like today. I thought, what is Juneteenth? And I found out, I mean, it's just catching bits and pieces. I don't watch a whole lot of TV and news and stuff. I just enough to know basics. And I guess it's some kind of thing in Texas or something, but I don't even know it. I've never heard of it, and I know all about American history. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely.
this is Juneteenth? What?
And just
I mean,
to be clear, it started in Texas, but it's supposed to be a nationwide thing now. Only officially, you know, it's not official in some places, but it is supposedly celebrated nationwide. So it's not like
I
it's
thought
a
it was
local
something.
thing. Right.
Yeah. I thought it was made up by the Trump administration. I thought it was some kind of a thing.
I thought it was
What's
new
this?
too. Yeah, I thought it was new
Yeah.
too. Okay, so I got another one for you guys. I was watching some footage of the lunar module, both the footage from the moon itself and the footage of it in, I guess there's a museum with it in it, right? It has gold foil all over the thing. The thing didn't have gold foil on it in my memory. Not in the moon landing images, not in the... I mean,
Shane.
I saw it.
Shane,
I saw
please.
it. It's covered in gold.
Eileen, please, just a second. Time out.
yeah, okay.
Don't get me started on NASA.
I'm just talking strictly
I'll get
Mandela
a shot of adrenaline. I'll get a shot of adrenaline, and I'll start shouting, and then it's like, you know, I've already told you, Shane, about that, right? Eileen, did you hear about? Did I tell you about that too?
Oh, absolutely. Do you think
I get real passionate. I get really passionate about NASA. Those guys, man, because my family worked for NASA for years. And Dad and I just remember being a little kid, man. And I was like a teenager, and I'm just sitting there, and my uncle, he was a very brilliant man, my uncle and my dad. And I'm just sitting there, and we're watching Gemini, you know, and Apollo, and the space shuttle. I'm going to throw that in there too. And I'm just like, you know, I'm about, I'm like 15, you know. And then my dad and my uncle are just sitting there going, you know, Jerry, this is just not real. These guys, you know. And Dad's like, yeah, we build parts for these Apollo projects, Saturn V. My dad his corporation welding division built this stuff. And my dad's like, oh yeah, I know. The Apollo shots are, you know, the Apollo launches are just bullshit. And I'm like, holy shit. And I'm like 15. Yep. I'm telling you, that I went in the military, I worked with fighter jets. And then when I saw the space shuttle, I'm like, well, that's a real fancy looking jet. It's just a jet. The shuttle was just a jet, you guys. It was not a freaking spacey craft. God, what a bunch of bullshit.
What do you know about TR3Bs? There's a
I don't know what that is. I don't know what TR3B is.
The black triangle. Do you think the black triangles are ours or not ours?
I don't know what the black triangles are.
Oh,
the black triangles, the UFOs and stuff. I don't know what those are. No, I've never heard of them. I mean, I've just seen them. I've just seen the basic pictures and stuff. Those are interesting. They'd move real slow, right over the top of, the top of cities and stuff.
Just back to the Mandela effect, really quick. Do you remember gold foil or not?
Do I have to be honest? I mean, You guys do like
Okay,
an honest
no,
thing?
it doesn't matter if it's a real, if it's a prop, it's a model, fake plastic thing. Did it have gold?
Yeah, but I want to be part of the Mandela Effect community so bad, and so I'll agree with anything you guys say. No, I truly, honestly do remember gold foil on the lamb.
Yeah.
Alien.
I specifically remember.
I do remember gold.
I remembered them back, you know, when they were like, we haven't been to the Van Allen belt and all this, and you know, they said that gold shields would shield through there, and I'm like, well, why don't they just use gold? And you know, so
the Van Allen belt is the firmament dome talked about in the Bible. You know, they say, oh, we can't pass through the Van Allen belt. Well, that's the firmament dome. They tried to frickin' blow a hole in it in the 1950s. They launched. Don't get me started on nuclear bombs either. Okay, but they shot explosives at the firmament dome in the 1950s. It was called Operation Fishbowl. Yeah. The United States government tried to blow a hole in that thing.
That is fascinating.
It's like a bunch of teenage boys. It's like, oh, there's some kind of a dome or something. It's made of sapphire, by the way. It's blue. Guess what else was made of sapphire and was blue? God's throne. Mm-hmm. Guess what else was made of sapphire and blue? The tablets of stone. You know. I think that meteorites and stuff, I think meteorites are like where the firmament dome kind of flakes, you know, and it just like drops some pieces of it. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. Hey, I just woke up, but I mean, I was just going to like, congratulations on your guys' International Mandela Effect group, and I will be joining in to it, and let's see what else. We'll wrap it up here. Meeks B, she reappeared. So she's got like live streams on Tuesday and stuff, and so that's cool.
And she's married. She came back married.
Oh, she didn't ask us permission. You know what? I can't believe it. We could have checked this dude out. You know, we could have checked him out. She just would have told us, but no. Like some kind of wild daughter, she just ran off and got married and didn't even tell anybody. Can't believe it. Eloped. She eloped. We got to know who this guy. We've got to find out, you know, who this guy is.
I'm glad she's.
Hey, I just woke up, and so I'm a little bit my head is just sort of spinning around. See, I think why I call in a bunch, you know, a lot of people are pretty nervous about calling. You know what I mean? And I don't know how you are, Shane, and you, Eileen, and stuff like that. Once again, long story short, I used to speak in front of groups of thousands. I used to stand up and speak, yeah. And so I have no, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I was shy, I was really shy about karaoke, though. But then I had a friend, and she's like, get up there and sing, Raw. I'm like, no way, no. She goes, get up there and sing, Raw. And I go, all right. So I got up in front of the group, and I started to sing. And then pretty soon I look around, and I'm like, wow. And I became a big ham. I was the biggest ham, and now I'm pushing little kids out of the way. It's my turn. I want to sing karaoke. Hey, Shane, this weekend is probably the biggest deal, and then I don't know if it's expect a shift, and don't get me started on Freemasons. Yeah. My mama, Job's Daughter International, man. I got the inside track on some of them guys, and I was around Freemason for quite a few years. Okay? So don't get me started. Okay, but there's a whole big guy, you know, whose fault is it? Like Matt says, you know, who, what, when, where, why? Right? Okay, so we'll never find out who it is. It's like archons. It's like the Masons are behind all this and stuff. It's just the dark principalities of frickin' negativity. That's what's behind it. It's a big monster. And so anyway, you know, God's clock is the stars. And yep, stars and things are lining up right now. That looks like this weekend's going to be really a big deal. And then what we need to do is pray that, you know, that all the bad that is going to be lined up to happen be turned to good. You know what I mean? And I mean, we can just do that. Yeah. And then Shane, you're so positive, and I got to say it again, okay, please? Let me say it again. Shane, you are so positive and frickin' cool and level, you know, cool hand Luke. You are so calm. You just make me so nervous. Hey, I believe in the power of meditation big time.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, I'll check into your group, Eileen, and find out what you're talking about and stuff. And then just thank everybody in the chat room. Sorry, I'm not even fully awake, and you know I can really get lit. And so I'm really sorry for you know, taking over the conversation.
Oh, no,
the only person I've never been able to take over is Michelle. Michelle's opinion.
I know. I hear you on Michelle.
I could not talk over the top of her for nothing. I tried. I mean, she was talking over the top of me. I couldn't get it. You know what I mean? It was like, could you just, I mean, we would be great in a mud wrestling match. Because she could keep up with me, you know. There's only one other person I know that can out-talk me. And I'm not going to tell you who it is, because you guys will. Anyway, but Shane and Eileen, this is a really big weekend, you know. But no fear, right? No fear. No fear.
No fear here.
And then the next biggest star lineup that I would just see, you know, just kind of putting it all together. And I do know basics of, you know, astrology, and I know the basics. I know just enough about everything to get me in big trouble. Okay, so really after this weekend, the next biggest conjunction, you know, is going to be, check this out, December 24th and 5th.
Wow,
yeah.
6 months.
Look at Stellarium. Don't you have Stellarium and stuff? Mm-hmm. Don't you have the star charts and things?
What's happening on the 24th?
Oh, my goodness. Haven't you seen it? Oh, no. Oh, my Lord. Look what's going on in the sky on December 24th this year. Holy smokes. It's like, I think that's the last chapter in the September 2017 Virgo prophecy, Revelations 12. I think that's it. I think that's the big deal, the big finish.
Have you calculated the amount of days it is between those two?
Saturn and just one thing. Saturn and Jupiter are right on top of each other. Ooh, it's scary. And that's what day? Right on Christmas Day. Ooh-lee. You know what I mean? And it starts right around October 31st. You're looking forward to it. Are you like Shane? You're positive? You're being positive?
Yes.
Don't you know this is the collapse of civilization as we know it? It's just like, yeah.
Thank God.
You're absolutely right. That's why I love you, Shane, and Eileen, you too. It's people like you that keep people like me in check. Because otherwise I'd be just like, oh no, I'm like a regular person where my mind tends to go to the negative, you know what I mean? My mind does. I mean, just like normal, everybody kind of is that way, but it takes a little bit to pull the reins back in and say, hey, look, all of history has shown that God, in his infinite wisdom, has turned everything that the negative side of the force wants to make bad. God turns it to good, doesn't he? Every time.
So true.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Riley.
We need a new world.
Anything else I can help you with?
We can do it. It's a new world. We can create it, guys. We can do it.
Shane, you're just wonderful, man. One day we're gonna meet. We're gonna have bigger conventions and stuff, and one day we're all gonna meet each other. Did you know that I met Meeks B? I met her when she had her convention last November.
Oh yeah.
Did you go to Vanessa VA's convention
Yeah.
on the East Coast?
No, I wanted to. I wanted to real bad though.
Oh, so
I went to Sun Valley, and I went to. I've got a connection with Virginia Beach, though. I do. I got a big connection with Virginia Beach. I just do. So I need to go back there. I thought Meeks B would be a lot taller. And she gave me a big hug. And it was like, and then I met Pastor Bean.
I don't know Pastor Bean.
He was there. He's like a Bill. I think his first name's Bill. Anyway, he's one of the. He's been a pastor for years and years. He's not really an older fella, but anyway. So
is he the one in the Vanessa VA video?
I didn't. Have I ever been in one?
Is he Mandela affected, Shane?
Well, you remember her very
anyway,
first video?
He covered the Bible changes.
Right.
He covered the Bible changes a bunch. What about her? Vanessa VA is cool too, huh?
Well, her very first video she put out of the Angry and Tearful Mandela Effect compilation had a pastor on there that was presenting it to his congregation.
That was him. Yes, okay, exactly.
Yeah, he looked like he was
him.
probably my age, maybe 40 something. Yeah.
That was one of them, I really am off balance. I really didn't prepare anything, and I just kind of I'd really like to just reach through this phone and give you both big hugs, and I just love you both. And Shane, you're, I tried to do live streams and tried to do videos, and I did about 20 or 30 videos, and I just can't do it. I'm not like you guys, and I tried live streaming, and I haven't found my place. You guys just keep me in your prayers of where is my place to help the community, Where's my place? I don't have a niche, you know what I mean?
You belong here. You belong here where everybody creative and loving and accepting goes.
Vanessa VA, she's sharp, huh?
Oh yeah.
Vanessa VA, yeah. And then I think Matt's Quantum of Conscience, I think he's on it. I rarely disagree with what Matt's Quantum of Conscience says.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I didn't ever get. I got in a fight, you guys, with Scarab Dan. I talked to him over the phone a couple times, and I got in a fight with Brian Stavely. And I don't mean to be so hot-headed and frickin' I'm not got a strong opinion, and I'm kind of going to be stupid. And so I guess I'll just throw it out there. This will be a posted recording. I really apologize to the group that I have been so aggressive sometimes in the chat rooms. I really, honestly, that's absolutely true. I apologize deeply. I'll try to watch out, but when people talk about, I don't know, the Antichrist, the mark of the beast, and crap like that, right? I know the Bible better than Billy Graham. Yeah. Hello?
I know you do know the
Bible. And so when somebody mentions the tribulation and the rapture, it's like, man, I'll lay into them and I'll say, hey, that's just here's what I think about it. And I just plow over the top of anybody that's got a different opinion. Do you understand? That's not healthy, you know what I mean?
I get you, and it's a big thing to apologize to a community, but you've always been really part of our community, and you've never done that here. You feel comfortable with our group.
No. Oh, well, yeah, because Shane is so calm.
That is true.
How could anybody be... Okay, I got one more statement. You name one person that doesn't like Shane. Come on. Just one.
I don't know anybody.
I mean, what can you say bad about Shane?
I've never
Say,
met
name one
anybody
thing.
said anything bad.
I know. My father was the same way. My father was a fine man, you guys. Can you believe this last statement here? I've met a few men in my life. I mean, I turned 59 again, and I've been around the world. I mean, like frickin' all over the earth. I mean, I've traveled. I've seen every state in the nation except Alaska. I've just like, you know what I mean? I've really, really met a lot of people, right? And my dad was the most fine, noble man that I ever met in my life. And it was my own father. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody on earth that did not like my dad. Isn't that a weird thing? I mean, he was just powerful and kind of more quiet and just a strong, powerful man. And he would want me to share about that, and that's one of my little pet peevy things, too, is that he would want me to, he passed away about 10, 15 years ago, you know, and then it was just like, my dad would want me to share that he told me that NASA was just simply not true. It was like, he built the Titan missile projects, my dad did. My dad helped to build he built a part of Gemini. He built Apollo, and then he helped with the shuttle a little bit. And it was just like, he would want me to share this with me. I just know he would. He couldn't say anything, you know, it is really honestly one of those deals where he couldn't say anything because these guys are scoundrels. They're dangerous. You know what I mean? And if an employee comes forward and says, hey, well, that guy ends up missing, doesn't he? You know, these guys are criminals. And Elon Musk, and I'm not afraid of you posting this. I do not fear death. Zero fear of death. That's interesting too, huh? And then so I don't care if Elon Musk hears this or not. I'm telling you straight up, Elon Musk and Sir Branson and NASA all these years, they're deceived though, you see what I mean? They've got the veil over their eyes. They can't see it. But we can, huh?
Yeah,
we're wide awake. We can see through the veil. This is a biblical prophecy, or biblical as well, that God is giving us the latter rain of the Holy Spirit, and I believe that we've got the veils are lifting off our eyes. The Bible also talks about see through glass darkly, and so we're just like, we've got X-ray vision, don't we? We can kind of like look around and go, hey, this is just like, you know, that last caller said something that just really hit me. He's lost a lot of friends and family, and so have I, you guys. This is really something, waking up, huh? Because then people around us are like, oh, well, this person's really crazy.
It's not always easy, that's for sure. It's not easy to wake up and be different.
Hey, I really honestly should not be frickin' just rolling over this thing. Please, Shane, take another caller. Somebody trying to call in.
All righty, Raleigh. I appreciate you calling in, buddy.
All right. Okay, we'll talk
It was
later.
great chatting with you, Raleigh.
I love you guys.
Love you too.
Love you too.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Let's see, 514 area code. Were you wanting to talk? You're live.
Hey, guys. I'm just calling in to crash the party.
Hey.
Is this Nancy?
Hey!
Nancy!
Yeah! I got nothing to bring to the table, nothing to bring to the conversation. I just wanted to come in and say hi to my buddies. What's up?
You always have something to bring to the table. You know, I'm going to confess here, I talk more to Nancy than anybody else I've ever met on the internet. But I've met you in person twice.
Yes! I call you my bestie to my regular friends.
Oh,
But
we're
you're
just
like
always checking things out. Like, I don't know. It helps to have another set of eyes on things that when the world goes crazy, it's like nice to have somebody looking at it with you.
Yeah, and Nancy's one of those people. In fact, I think that came out in Cornelius's reading of you, that people are just naturally attracted to you. I mean, you have like one of those bubbly, you just feel good. It feels good to be around you. You know what I mean? Or to talk to you, to open up to you, that kind of thing.
Definitely.
Like Cornelius was talking about. So, yeah, you're in the right crowd. We need more people like that.
That's so
You're
sweet.
so crazy.
You said that comment last week about in the chat, and I was so touched by that. So that's so sweet. I love everybody here in the chat. I love you all.
Positive, and yet you tease me by going, "There's fear there." I'm like, really? Is there really any fear there? Because you are so positive. You're probably one of the most positive people I've ever met.
Oh, come on. Really? I don't even find myself that positive at all.
Oh, no. Yes. Super positive.
But you guys, you bring me up.
We're helping each other. We're a support system.
Shane has the positivity crown. He is the most positive person anybody's ever met.
Totally. Totally.
Oh, that means a lot that you guys are saying that. It's, a lot of it just has to go with just realizing that, I guess, when things don't seem very positive, it's just my lack of seeing the whole picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Get down, but you lift yourself right back out. You're like, okay, I'm just going to lift myself out. And you do it by breathing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just breathe in the moment and meditate in the moment for like a minute.
Yeah, it only takes, a few seconds to take a deep breath. And I tell people, don't leave out the sigh. The sigh is so important because that sigh is like, I don't have to worry about this. My team is handling this. And you can really feel it just release right off of you. I mean, honestly, somebody said they've been trying the breathing thing. They're like, I just tried the sighing. It worked so much better. I'm like, the sighing is like the main part of it because you hear yourself doing it and it sounds like you're releasing it. So, it's like you get the double effect of sighing. You get to hear it, you get to sound like you're letting it go, and feel it letting go. So it's good. Don't leave out the sigh, you guys. That's really important. Okay. But be aware that if you're around family members, they might be thinking that you're like getting really angry. I've noticed it. Like, are you okay? Like, yeah, I'm just centering myself.
The other thing I've heard is humming. Have you guys hummed every day? It's supposed to break up the calcification of your pineal gland, which makes you more psychic. So we're supposed to hum a song a day, like hum one song.
I actually try to make my skull vibrate. So I'll move my tongue different ways and making all these real weird sounds. I don't do it around other people, by the way.
Oh, that must make you feel like fuzzy and relaxed and.
Oh my gosh, it takes you into such a deep trance that I did it for like 20 minutes, and like I just thought I did it for like a few breaths. It was so weird because it causes you to breathe deeper because you're trying to get the vibration to last longer and not have to start over again, so you tend to take these deep breaths and try to really extend out the tone to make it last longer. And I guess that deep breathing along with the vibration just really puts you in a trance-like state. So yeah, it's pretty.
Well,
wild.
My son and I, when he was younger, actually we tried to do it this afternoon at my parents' pool, but because we were going through a heat wave right now. But when he was younger in the pool where I was living with my ex, we used to do, and he would do it at the same time as me, and it would like just the vibration of it and the sound of it and the echo in the pool. It was so cool, and we would feel so like buzzy. It was nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can do that in the bathtub too. If you like just put your ears under, lay on your back and just have your ears under, it sounds vibrating.
Yeah. So I guess it's supposed to make you more psychic. It's supposed to make you more. It's supposed to make you more psychic and more intuitive, and just like get that third eye working.
Well, I'm going to work on that. Definitely this weekend too, because this is a huge weekend. I'm going to a solstice ceremony on Sunday,
Nice.
On some secluded beach somewhere. It's my brother-in-law's good friend. He's known since high school. She's a shaman, and I've seen her for a session once. Like, she lived in the bush in Peru or something for months. She said she would have lived there longer, but because she had a dog back here and stuff, so she wanted to come back home. So she's going to lead the meditation, and we just have to bring our chairs, and she's going to have some drumming and some auric cleansing, and what are those tuning forks?
Mm.
And she's also going to use some plants. She's going to smoke some plants. No, we're not going to be smoking some weed. That's not what I meant, but I mean, she's going to burn plants, like natural tobacco and I guess sage and I don't know what else, but I'm pretty excited. And my son's going to participate too. He's coming, and my sister, she's going to come. So my sister's been opening up the cool. Yeah, I can't wait. I've been wanting to do that for so long, and just never found the right person, the right. It was mostly French people that were doing it, and now my first language is English, so I was more comfortable with the English. So it's perfect timing.
That's
big weekend.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet the weather's getting really nice there too, huh?
Oh, right now it's a heat wave. It's really hot.
Wow,
like 32, 33 degrees. Yeah. But at least my air conditioner's fixed for this heat wave. Cause
that's like 90, 95. That's hot.
Yeah. That's hot.
Oh, okay.
So
I didn't have to Google it. Thanks for letting me know.
That used to be my temperature in England and Europe. I had to think in Celsius, and then I'd always have to convert it into Fahrenheit so it would make sense to me. I'm like, oh, it's 15 degrees today. Well, in Chicago, that would be really cold, you know?
And 33 would be really
That's like
cold,
the kilometers, too.
Yeah.
Right, Eileen? Like
Yeah.
the kilometers, too, in Europe. You would calculate things with the kilometers, and you have to switch it over to miles for the States, right?
Yeah, I'm still not good with kilometers versus miles. I'm still not good with that conversion rate. But I do think that all this 12s that we're into, 12 inches in a foot, 12 months in a calendar, it's all Roman, you know, so something existed before that, before, you know, Rome is only 2,000 years old, right?
So I wanted to say, about the, because people were talking about the shifts, some shifts that they were feeling, some shifts recently. Well, it was so odd. So we were swimming in the pool. Well, I had just gotten out. No, we were in the pool, and I look up, and just on one side, it was like an explosion of clouds. You know how you would see an explosion of smoke, like flying up to the sky? But it looked like that, but it was clouds, and it was just on one side of the sky. On the other side, it was like maybe a few wispy clouds, but it was mostly like blue, crisp blue sky. And then all of a sudden, just on one side, and it was like it was on pause. And I'm like, oh my God, look, my son. I'm like, you see this? This is like, it's like I'm looking at the sky just paused, like I'm watching a movie. And then I told my mom, and my mom, she was just reading the first chapter of Cornelius's book because I had it, and I had been talking to her about it, you know. So she was getting hooked too. So she came to look at the sky, and we were the three of us looking at the sky, and I was like, is it moving at all? I mean, the clouds, they're not budging. And then eventually it was like okay, this dog-shaped face kind of starting to dissipate, but it really was very slow moving. Never seen that before. Even my mom wasn't really in real shock.
Kind of like a split sky, like two personalities, like left brain, right brain.
I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know.
I don't either. It's turning pretty weird. Like I'm getting some pretty freaky colors sometimes, like a really fluorescent, orangey pink, but not normal. Like I can't describe it. More of a salmon color, and I'm like, whoa, where's that color coming from?
Just out of the, like in front of you, or like when you're looking at the sky?
The whole will light up all weird colors, all strange colors now that aren't in the primary color band at all.
In your vision?
Yeah, and I'm not really sure if other people are seeing the same color. So maybe I'm seeing the sky differently. I don't know.
Interesting.
Have you been shifting, Nancy?
I don't know. I think, like, how do you describe shifting?
I don't know. I think, I don't know. Sometimes I just sense it if things are really different from one day to the next. I'm like,
Well,
there's been some changes here.
I have talked to you about looking out at outside the window, and things just look like I felt like I was in a.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a shift, but you're just looking outside. It's like, this is weird. Am I really here? This doesn't feel like.
That's how I would describe it. That's how I would describe it. Like, this feels different.
Me too.
The same but
eerie.
different.
It's like eerie.
Yeah. I've even had a few times, and I only want to bring this up in case anybody else has it, but it was almost like things got so cloudy for me that it was dreamy cloudy is what I mean. Not vision cloudy, but like just dreamy seeming, that it almost felt like I had like a natural response in my body of a fearful response, like almost when you have like a heart palpitation or something, and then you can feel the adrenaline because
I've had that.
You know what I mean? That sort of thing, and like where I was like, oh my gosh, and I kind of had to pull myself back out for a moment because it was more of it wasn't like a thought-induced fearful feeling, just my perception being so almost like the feeling if you're driving in fog and it's just that nervous uncertainty feeling that just, because you can't see if you're moving and you can't see what's there, you know what I mean?
Can't see what's in front of you.
Yeah.
You feel like you're in a completely different place.
Right. I just had the dreaminess feel like that one time it felt so dreamy that it was almost, panicky feeling. I could definitely see if I was that kind of a person that would have a panic attack, it could have gone that way. But I always try to catch everything right away, I think most people do that. You just take control of your thoughts right away.
I wonder if that's when, like, your consciousness, which is your awareness, is expanding past your normal levels of where everything feels safe, it feels normal, it's as usual, it's the way it always feels, and then suddenly, boom, you're like in like untested territory. You're like, whoa, this feels kind of weird.
Right.
Well, are we not shifting in and out of dimensions all day long?
I think Cynthia Sue says we are, and a lot of quantum scientists say we are constantly popping in and out.
But I think,
I think
that's
we're
where
becoming more aware of it. I think that's why
Well, I was thinking in terms of like, if you imagine shifting between parallel types of realities or shifting into a higher vibration, I guess thinking of it like densities and dimensions in that sense. That way you can sort of look at a lateral move, left and right, or an up and down move. So the left and right thing is happening all the time, right? The whole Planck distance and all that stuff.
Yeah. Especially in creative individuals who use both sides of their brain.
Mm-hmm. But the upward shift is what we're trying to, that's like the overall thing. So yeah, I guess if you think of it that way, we're shifting left and right all the time, but ultimately we're trying to shift upward while we're shifting left and right all the time, right? Into higher and higher.
As above, so below. This is a weird thing I learned about ocular vision because my daughter had a challenge, and apparently a lot of kids are being born with this, and they're being misdiagnosed as, what's that when you reverse letters?
Dyslexic?
What's that called?
Dyslexic?
They're being misdiagnosed as dyslexic because people who test for eyeglasses can't test for it. You have to go to the eye doctor, doctors who do eye surgery, and they can test for this. And it has the word convergence disparity in it. Now think about that in terms of shifting, like you were talking about consciousness shifting and divergence and convergence. And what happens is when you read a line, you read left eye, right eye, left eye, right eye, left eye, right eye. Your eyes cannot read a word on a page at the same time, so they take turns and they go left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And when you have, yes, and when you have this convergence disparity, which a lot of kids are being born with now for some reason, your left eye reads one line, and the right eye either reads the line above it or below it. So when they're reading, nothing makes sense because they're reading every other word from different lines on the page. Yeah.
That is really interesting because I think even Cornelius was talking about that issue that he had, and he had no idea he had that issue for years until he was in, I think, if I recall, maybe 18 or in the early 20s, where somebody had told him, a teacher had told him, this is, you know, you're skipping words and you're... Yeah, he was skipping words, and he thought that's just how everybody read. Like, he would read his own sentence, but the teacher would read his sentence, and it was nothing like what he was reading.
Wow. Exactly.
So is it like they have to have
daughter
a strip with like a strip to lay on top where you can only see one line at a time? What do they treat? How do they treat someone like that?
Oh, it's very expensive and it's very complex. They put plastic glasses on that have lines in them with little slits. So they try to train your eyes on both sides to see through the same slit, which is kind of like the double slit experiment. I'm like seeing so many consciousness things going on with this. Like, they're viewing multiple lines at one time, and we're like viewing multiple timelines at one time. I'm seeing so many correlations between this, and then
that is worse than dyslexia for sure. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, they have to put a timer on, a metronome that goes tick, 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 and they have to cover up with a piece of paper their eyes one at a time to the tick, and then they have to read a chart 20, 30 feet away, and they have to stay on the same level of the chart. That they're trying to retrain their eyes to view the same line because their eyes are viewing all over the page. It's so related to consciousness and timelines and dimensions and seeing multiple dimensions at once. And that's how kids are being born now.
Oh, well, they're ready, I guess.
That's
right?
That's wild to imagine that. What if you could see? What if your eyes were seeing different dimensions? That would be a trip.
Oh my goodness.
To read, they can't read out loud, and then they get labeled stupid by their friends and their teachers because they're really smart. Like Cornelius is really, I've heard him on the show, very smart, but because they can't read like everybody else, they're labeled dumb or backwards or behind, but they're really smart. So
some of them even go into special need class and stuff like that because
yeah, definitely. So that means these kids are being born. Well, it's like I've heard them say also about the children on the spectrum and stuff, that they see things in a different way because they're the kids of the future, right? They're the ones that they're ready for the new world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing, like rainbow children or crystal children. I'm not sure which is which, but it comes after indigo, and it's the children who are ready to exist in a more unified world or a multiple dimensional world.
So it's indigo, then it's crystal, and then rainbow. But then
Rainbow
again, I mean, that's how I've like I would think my son, I'm pretty sure I'm an indigo, and I would think my son is a crystal child, and then after that, like my let's say my nephew who's a year and a half is probably a crystal child.
And
he's
really
so bright.
Indigo. Even though I'm 61, born in 61, I'm definitely indigo. I have all the indigo traits, which was, they said now that they believe that indigos have been coming for quite some time, and that to kind of fight the good fight and pave the way so others have a little more freedom. Yeah.
Absolutely. The barrier breakers.
Jane, I see you more as a rainbow or crystal person. That's more about the peace, the love, and the harmony. You too, Nancy, both of you guys.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay, yeah.
less about the fighting to free the path. Like the indigo has the spiritual machete, and they're clearing the path. They're saying, I'm making this clear. And then the people who come behind are the love, peace, unity people, you know, and they don't have the machete or the weapons or the shield or whatever you want to call it.
I love that, the spiritual, what did you say, spiritual machete?
Yeah, the spiritual machete is kind of clearing the path so the peaceful ones can follow.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So, you
Clearing
know,
the way for us. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
You mentioned frequency earlier, Shane.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I'm like trembly. I don't know why. I'm like feeling nervous for some reason. Anyway, so let me tell you just quickly. The first reading that I had was Cornelius.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so cool. So talking about frequency, okay. I was a 28, apparently. I mean, I already told you this. I was a 28 when I was with my ex. I guess all my life up till then. And what he said was, and that's the shame and guilt level, and which totally makes sense and I resonate with. But the moment that I decided I didn't want to live in that type of relationship
mm-hmm.
and that kind of life is when I shifted up to 124.
So almost, that's a 100-point leap practically, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. He said that was a big leap, that he doesn't see that very often. So I was like, oh my goodness.
Did it feel like
that?
that?
How long is it going to take? Well, I didn't think that much, but I mean, I definitely, like, that was a shift.
Yeah.
You know, when we talk about something drastic, like that was a shift. And I think that's why, well, that's what he was saying. This is why that I met Brian, because we're closer in frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian apparently is a little less than me. Sorry, that's the ego.
Oh, you just knocked yourself down, Nancy.
When I swear, I thought his frequency was way higher than mine, but it turns out mine's higher. Oh, well.
But you guys help each other.
Is Brian Mandela affected? Is Brian
Mandela
affected?
No. And this is another thing I wanted to mention too. So it's interesting because the way that Cornelius explained to me how he sees the Mandela effect, or how, you know, in his version or you know, like with his knowledge or whatever, it's because, okay, let me try and get my words. Sorry, because I hate when I can't explain things properly. Hang on. It's all in my head, but it's just my mouth can't catch up. Because I shifted, I'm aware of the two realities. Mm-hmm. The reality of the Monopoly man with the monocle,
mm-hmm.
and the Monopoly man without the monocle. So that means, let's say, oh gosh, I wish I could remember. I should have taken a screenshot of the because he did kind of like a diagram, and I tried to recopy it afterwards. But the thing is, the people who aren't Mandela affected is because they're at a certain frequency. They're like staying at a certain frequency. So most of us who are in our shoes, right, in this group, most of us in this group, all of us in this group, we've shifted at some point, right? Because we've Mandela affected.
Yeah.
Right? So we're aware of these two realities.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Did I make that sound right? I don't even know if I said it
totally
the way he explained it to me, but like on a diagram when he was showing it to me, like two timelines, I was able to understand it in another way. So I thought that was super cool, but I keep trying to like describe it to other people. But Brian is not Mandela affected because he's always trying to. He's very logical, you know. He always tries to, you know, he was talking about, you know, they have copyright laws, you know, and they're upgrading, you know, changing their names and this and that, you know, like finding reasons why.
All right.
But it's so funny that a few weeks ago that just that same weekend that the Cornelius came on, I think it was that following Tuesday. And Eileen, I was telling you about it. I was watching. They had because Cornelius on the Friday, the first night he was on, he mentioned Field of Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So then on the Tuesday, Field of Dreams was going to play on TV. So I'm like, oh, shoot, let me watch Field of Dreams. Because for me, you know, the Mandela Effect never was something that I was like I was, like some of the things I was like, oh my gosh. But I was always kind of like neutral about it as if it was like a natural thing.
Mm-hmm.
But this was the first time that I'm like, in this point of my life right now, this is the first time that I got so affected. I'm watching Field of Dreams, and I could not believe I heard him saying, and I recorded it, and I put it on Facebook, but he said, build it, and he will come. And I was like, what? Wait. I mean, I'm actually hearing it instead of like looking up the videos and seeing the differences. This is the first time, like it's on TV, you know, it's right there in front of me. Let's see what's going to happen. And I was just like blown away.
That's wild. For me, that one's always been both. It was he at the beginning and then they at the end when, you know, when it was just the dad at the beginning and then it was the group at the end. So that's a weird one for me because it's like, you know, it doesn't even make sense being one or the other. It has to be both in my mind, and that's how it was. So it's like...
But it could be because people say he's talking about his father because it's his father in the end that ends up coming, right?
Well, in the beginning, but at the end, it was like that line of cars, remember? Remember all the headlights going way out? And so that's why I thought it was they, you know? Build it and they will come. All of those people, all those cars.
But I've always remembered it as
I heard
they.
both. I heard both.
Do you remember it as both too, Eileen?
I do, yeah, I remember it as both.
Wow, that's cool.
I remember the beginning of the movie, he kept saying, if you build it, they will come. And then that baseball team comes, and then it switches at the end to, if you build it, he will come, and then his dad comes.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people have been telling me also. But so then what does that mean about our realities then? If you guys remember it both ways. Oh my God,
it's all fluid.
Like my mind is bending.
And we're
I know.
We're just
but
you're just seeing what's in the nearby dimensional vicinity. We're not seeing what's way out there. Because if we saw what was way out there, it would be so freaky. We'd be like, okay, this is too hard to handle. We're only seeing the little stuff that's out there in the nearby dimensions, not too freaky, not too far away, right?
Right, and there's no single objective reality either. You know, we've seen that for sure with the Mandela Effect. I mean, we all have different Mandela effects. It's very much individual.
That's made me more open-minded and accepting of people. Like, if they see things a certain way, I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. I don't judge it because I might see it differently, but that doesn't mean that mine's right and theirs is wrong. So it's made me a better person seeing the Mandela Effect, that's for sure.
Right, and just kind of understanding how it works. You know, it was nice to have so many people. There was a lot of people that saw that, you know, what this show was, the whole Juneteenth thing or whatever. You know, it's like to see so many people from Texas that it was an effect for them. I think, you know, just that to me was a good thing because it actually almost validates it because they were so close to it. And when you see kind of how it works, you know, like doctors not noticing things, it's like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? The whole close thing. Yeah.
That I get, but I've never heard of the June.
I think the Mandela makes us more flexible and more accepting of others and other opinions. Don't you guys think it's like a good thing that way?
Totally.
Repeat that. I mean, first part.
That the Mandela Effect makes you a little more open-minded and accepting of differences in opinions. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. I get it.
Yeah. At this point, yeah.
Yeah. Once you really see how it can be so different. Yeah.
No, but definitely, yeah. We become more open. because we're still learning and we're still willing to learn. We're still questioning and we're still, we're still looking at all kinds of answers and trying to figure it out. We're willing to, it's not like people who are so stuck in their ways and, it's either this or that.
Yeah, it almost
We're not-
just comes down to being
black or
realizing
white.
that we don't know the
Yeah.
answers.
But we're willing to question.
See where human consciousness goes from here. Like, when will everybody see the Mandela effect, which is shifting and changing matter, responding to the observer, to consciousness? And then what's next after that? Once everybody sees it, then what?
I don't know, but I hope to be around to see all this.
That's awesome.
You guys, I didn't even think I'd see this much happen in my lifetime. I was like very aware of the shift, which is now called the event, from the 70s and 80s, and I'm like, probably not in my lifetime. It was that kind of feeling. And now I'm like, yeah, in my lifetime.
Yeah. You waited a long time.
And
you've been aware a long time.
They're in the 60s and 70s, and they're like, yeah, I was waiting for it too since the 70s. And it's like, by the time you hit the 90s or the 2000s, we just gave up on it. We're like, okay, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And who would have thought?
And now it's happening.
Just the fact that it seems impossible with instant evolution almost. Just jumps in human consciousness, huge jumps.
I took a little archaeology and anthropology, and they kept saying, yeah, it's all Darwin, survival of the fittest, and slowly the animals adapt to their environment and change. Like, giraffes needed a longer neck as Africa got drier and drier, and they needed to reach up higher to get the leaves. So their neck grew over hundreds or thousands of years. And then suddenly they go, but not in this case. This is called spontaneous evolution. Like, yesterday, the animal wasn't like that, and the next day they were. And I was always like, well, what is spontaneous evolution? And then I'd hear reports of medical reports of people having spontaneous remissions where, they're supposed to be gone in 6 months. They got 6 months to a year to live, and that's definitely true because of their condition. But then they had spontaneous remission, and it all went away instantly overnight. And I'm like, wow, those two kind of sound related.
So, like as if, because who was saying it, that, oh God, why can't these words come out of my mouth? Jeez. I feel like I'm so dumb. What the heck?
No, not at all. But, instant manifestation. One day it's like this, and the next day it's the opposite. Like, Nancy, did you ever read that book, Dying to Be Me, by Anita Moorjani?
No, but I've heard of her.
She's like this great speaker now because she was like at death's door with 40 tumors on life support. And she had one of those like near-death, or I call them death experiences. She went to the other side. And they're like, oh, yeah, you can go back. You can heal your body. And she's like, really? And then she wakes up in her body, and within weeks, all the tumors just melt away. And she's perfectly healthy, And that's documented. Like, she's got a lot of medical records.
I believe in all that. I just wonder how, and I know that, on a certain level, I know that we can heal ourselves. But we're but then again, I know also that we have a lot of blockages that need to be cleared. And it's funny because this is what I was saying with Cornelius. I know that there's something that's stopping me, holding me back from something that I want to do, And when he read my heart frequency, which was in the 400s apparently, but my body was in the hundreds, so it's not aligned, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So like as soon as he said that about the frequency, and I was like, oh, that's a blockage, and he goes, yes, it definitely is, you know. So that's why I'm going to do the unshackling. But what was my point? Yeah, I think that's all it is. It's really these blockages that keep people from really believing that they can heal themselves.
Yeah, I believe we limit ourselves, you know, just from what we think is possible.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then if something's going to like remove some of those blockages really fast, the Mandela effect is one of those catalysts that removes a heck of a lot of blockages very quickly. Because you have a choice. You can live in fear that everything's changing around you, or you can go, hey, that's the normal way. That's the way it's supposed to be. Boom. You've just removed all the blockages of all the previous paradigm reality rules you were given in school, you know, that matter is fixed. Matter cannot change, you know.
And the crazy thing is, you know, you can either get it and it snaps and you get through it right away, or you can kind of get hung up on it. I guess anything's like that, but, you know, it's easy once you know, you know what I mean? I always tell everybody, it's easy once you know. How do you set this dang VCR? Really, it's easy once you know, you know.
Yeah, it's easy once you know, once you figure it out. We were really lucky because we all came together like three and a half years ago, when we could have all gone the fear route, but we were like, oh, there's this community in this channel that I can listen into, and they're not afraid. So I can drop my fears when I'm there with them.
Yeah.
You know, so it kind of gave us a place to go that we could be in company of people who also dropped the fear, which was really healing, super healing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's exciting, too, because then you start thinking of the possibilities. You're like, well, if this is good people or good entities making these changes, then they can literally change reality right before our very eyes in a positive way for me. And that's the actual truth. And it could be us doing it.
I like that canon thing you said, Shane, where you read that passage where it said some of our cosmic brothers and sisters were changing little things just to wake up people to the fact that changes could happen. And that matter wasn't fixed. Do you remember you read that in Dolores Cannon's QHHT?
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, too. Yeah. That was from the 3 Waves of Volunteers. I want to say chapter 22, The Best Agenda for Earth.
I love that book. I like. Aren't there like 4 books in that series of like The Keepers of the Garden is one.
Yeah.
3 Waves of Volunteers. The Secret Knowledge is the last one, but I'm sure there was another one. Wasn't there like a 4th book in that series?
I don't know. I just know those 2 that you mentioned, Keepers of the Garden and the 3 Waves.
Yeah, 3 Waves of Volunteers. I like lend that out to friends. I'm like, see if you're a volunteer here. Because I feel like I'm very much a volunteer here. I've never, ever, ever felt normal. And I'm like always okay with that. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay that I like, you know, don't do the normal stuff and don't think the normal way. And because I'm so comfortable with it, all my friends in the normie community are cool with it too. They're like, oh yeah, Eileen's really strange, but she's cool. She's okay. You know?
Yeah.
Hey, maybe at some point wouldn't it be cool if it's just fashionable to be kind of, I don't know, out there like us?
The tipping point.
Odd.
Hey, get this. My sister, the middle sister, we've always been super close. And when we were younger, you know, we had big experiences with ghosts and stuff, and that's why for many years I was scared because I didn't understand it. But anyway, now she's starting to become, she's connecting a lot to her psychic abilities. And she's like less afraid, and she's the type that loves to watch like, you know, those ghost stories and psychic kids. And she put me on to Kindred Spirits. I watched one episode, and I think I watched the scariest one of them all. And they had encountered a low-level demonic entity. And I told my sister, oh my God, if this is what the show is about, I'm not going to watch this because I will get too scared. And she goes, oh my, you must have gotten like the scariest one because that never happens. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense, because they were kind of surprised that that happened. But you know what they ended up doing? Because what it was is, have you ever heard of kindred spirits?
I've heard it in different, like all different kinds of contexts. Like people, like you and I could be kindred spirits because we automatically understand each other when we meet. I've heard it that way.
Then there's the two
Well,
sisters.
that's the title of the show.
The two sisters that do BQH sessions?
No.
Kindred? Okay.
No. It's a show, and I think they're a couple. I just watched one, though. And I think they're a couple, and they're called in to sweep people's homes and places or whatever that have a lot of activity.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of like hauntings or whatever activity, and they go in and they just try to figure things out, and they help out and they help the spirit move on and stuff. And this was an old nursery and an old folks home. What's it called? That's not the right term, but
A nursing home.
a nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A nursing home and an orphanage. Sorry, a nursing home, an orphanage, and another thing. But those buildings were like abandoned, and people go there often and they visit, and there's a lot of activity and stuff. But now this activity that was happening, they were getting pushed, and like literally pushed by something invisible, and they didn't feel good about it. So they go in, and sorry, I just got freaked out. There was like a
Are you alone tonight? Are you freaking yourself out?
No, my son's in his room. He probably hears
Oh,
it
good.
right now.
You're not alone. Carry on.
Oh my God! But I watched it with Brian, thank God. But I was like shaking on the sofa. I'm like, thank God you're here. But the thing is, they had and they use instruments to calculate stuff, right? They're not psychic. They're not really. They're asking questions, and then they record questions. And then they re-listen to the recording and to hear the answers. It's kind of like the orbs. We don't see the orbs until you put it on camera, and then you look at the camera and you see the orbs.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what they were doing to hear the answers. And it sounded like a child was trying to get them out of there and guiding them out of there because they felt it was dangerous. And then they were moved over to the orphanage where there were the young kids, the young spirits, they play there and stuff like that. But at the nursing home, that's where there was a dark entity. So they finally got their psychic friend that comes to most of the sightings, I guess, and he figured out. And when he said it, I mean, he was freaked out, and he said this is like a low level demonic. And the thing is, it was mimicking them. So then they figured out, and you know how, Eileen, you've talked to me about also. In the astral realm, it's all thought forms, right? Every single thought that exists, a fear thought and stuff, right?
Yeah.
In the astral
Emotional thought forms, like humans
Yeah.
feed the astral
Yes.
realm around Earth with all their feelings of joy and all their feelings of fear and hate and all of that stuff too. Just it hangs in the astral realm.
So is there other stuff outside of the astral realm that's not just the thought forms? That is like maybe...
No. If you believe the Theosophists and the ancient Tibetan, pre-Tibetan Bon religions, there is like a protection around Earth that we can only terrorize ourselves with our own thoughts and our own feelings. I'm sorry, I don't know why I think that's funny, but it's like we're protected. So like outside entities and life forms can't go in and terrorize us too. We can only terrorize ourselves, which makes perfect sense,
But we think they're outside forces, right? We don't realize it's us terrorizing ourselves.
But what about an attachment? You think it's like an outside demon from like far, far away, and it's just a human thought form or a human feeling that is still active.
So what about a past loved one's spirit? Where does that fall in?
That's why they say places are high in energy, or like furniture, because like if somebody died in a super emotional, high charged way, like a murder, they can leave that energy, that feeling, and that thought form in that space or on that furniture. And then you can move that furniture into other people's homes, and they're like, I think this is haunted. This desk is haunted, because they can just feel the energy and weird things happen around it. But
so
again,
that's not a thought form.
It is. It's like an emotionally charged thought form.
Okay.
So it's when you add the emotions to a thought, you can emotionally charge it, and that can live on away from the soul and the spirit. Like, you know how they say, oh my God, there's these dead spirits in this house, and I need to go in there and say, go to the light. Well, the fact of the matter is, whoever died there, their soul is safe with God and reincarnation, or, their soul moved on, but they left behind some emotionally charged thought forms. And that's what we're dealing with, and we think we're dealing with their soul, but their soul is safe, always safe. But what we're dealing with is the emotions they left behind.
But so what if my late grandmother comes to visit me? How is that different?
That's interesting, because I do feel that when psychic mediums, like, talk about your dead loved ones, it feels like those messages are genuinely from the souls who have departed. But your dead grandmother's not rattling chains and moving furniture around on you. And those other psychic shows which try to move spirits on are always dealing with the negative side of bangs and noises and weird things happening. And they're really kind of not dealing with loving loved ones who have come back to give you a message to say, hey, I'm still here. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
It's quite different.
Yeah, okay.
The ghostly experience is different to a loved one who's always with you, just giving you, like Gene said, like the feathers on the handle of his car. That was a real message from a departed loved one who's still with him. Whereas if your furniture is knocking around at night, that's probably not your loving grandmother knocking on your dresser,
So would the loving grandmother be part of the astral realm? Or coming through to the astral realm from...
I'm pretending to be an expert, and I'm not an expert at all. But from what I've read, all souls, like even Hitler and the worst possible souls you can think of, move on into the places where they need to go to heal and to repair and eventually become one with God. That's what I've always read in these ancient texts. But when you've got entities and noises around you, that's just the astral emotional thought forms that were left behind. Especially when you think of like Yetis. Now, orbs are totally different. I used to think orbs were ghosts until I captured so many on film. And now I just totally see little orbs, little round ones, as like elementals. And then suddenly, remember, Shane, that slinky orb came in? That was more like a departed loved one, because it was totally different to the little circular orbs that fly around you all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, so like when we were in the field, all those orbs, they could have been just a bunch of elementals. But they were huge, and somebody told me that Bigfoot was as orbs. I've been like doing Bigfoot research since we had those experiences with you, me, and John Binney and Shiny Roberts.
Shiny. Yeah, and Shane caught some of the orbs too, with Sherry and a few people. They were so big. The Bigfoot people who follow and research Sasquatch said that they sometimes present as very large orbs, and usually orange, like the orange light at the bottom of the field.
Okay, yes, because John, Sherry, and I, on that first night out in the field, we saw that. We saw the orange orb, and it was coming right at us. It was so weird, and like I got so freaked out. And I think because I got freaked out, I might have it decided to kind of just stay back. But it felt like it was coming right towards us. And then we were told that, or was it James Gilliland that said the orange orbs, it's the Merkaba of the Yetis, of the Bigfoots.
I think he did tell us that. And that reminds me of Sherry's orange Merkaba in the swimming pool story.
Yes.
And then a friend of my daughter's, I gave her a piece of organite, a pyramid, because she liked the color, from my daughter's room. And my daughter gets, and you know, from my, I've shared all this stuff with you guys before, gets certain visitations in terms of light and things like that. And she brought it back, and I said, why are you giving this back to us? And she said, because an orange light appeared in my bedroom, and it really freaked me out. So here's your organite back. I think you need the orange orb, not me. And I was like, wow. I know, it was so funny. I'm like, okay, we'll have the orange orb.
An orange orb? Have you seen the orange orb?
Has anybody? I saw it with you and John, and then Jose and Go Part Bob came out. No, I've never seen it in the room in my apartment, but I saw it in the field that night.
Yeah.
I saw the orange orb in the field. So maybe those are like interdimensional energies, not quite the same as astral, emotionally charged thoughts or thought forms.
Oh my God! Someone's got to write a book and put this. You know, one of my favorite lines from Denzel Washington in the movie Philadelphia as the lawyer was in court, explain it to me like I'm a 3-year-old. See, I need to get these things explained to me like I was a child.
That is so funny because when we learned broadcasting in the 1980s, they said explain every news story as if you're talking to your grandmother. And that always stuck in my head. They said if you sit down in front of your grandma and you want to tell her this news story, how would you say it? Not that grandmas are dumb, but you wouldn't go into a lot of like specific scientific detail. You would just kind of explain the most important emotional parts of it, right? If you're talking to your grandma, because you love your grandma and she understands everything. So that's how they told us to do news. They said just really make it personal.
Well, it's like I say, sometimes the words are too big for me to wrap my brain around it, you know, so I need to be like shown in a different way or told in a different way. But just to quickly go back to the low level, the demonics, finally what they figured out was that it was a thought form, that there was so many people like feeding energy, visiting this place, being afraid, and feeding energy to this thought form, that that's why it was mimicking the people. And so I've got the big screen in front of me, but the TV's not on, so I'm just seeing my reflection, and I'm moving my hands, and I just started getting out. So what they decided to do was
But that makes sense. Like when you go to Gettysburg, people will see the soldiers. They'll see them in the corner of their eye. They'll see them like a few feet in front of them, 20 feet, 30 feet. They're like, wow, this is a really haunted place. And it's because there was so much emotion left on that field through the death and dying of both sides that you can go there, and if you're at all psychic or intuitive, you can actually pick up on the thought forms that were left behind because they're emotionally charged. And then I studied like poltergeist, like because of that movie that came out, which really scared the bejesus out of me. And it's like the actual poltergeist experiment where you go into houses where there's a lot of mischievous ghost activity, breaking things, moving things, hiding things. There's always like a slightly disturbed, emotionally disturbed teenager in the house. And it's no big deal because when they grow up and they get out of that feeling of like hating their parents and hating the world and hating themselves, the poltergeist goes away. It just stops.
So, but what is that thing? That's a thought form? Is the poltergeist a thought form?
That's the thought form of the teenager in the house who is struggling with feeling comfortable with their family, their brothers, their sisters, their parents, the world, their friends, you know, that teenage angst. Because my son, when he was, can you guys still hear me? I'm talking a little lower. Can you hear me? Yeah. Because when he was younger, he was going through a really rough period. He had a lot of anxiety, and he was having nightmares every night. But I had to go sleep with him, and he was seeing things. He was seeing spiders all over the walls,
and he saw a shadow move, and he saw the curtain, like the curtain being opened up, like something was coming in, and then it flew back out. And so now I'm thinking maybe that's why then. I thought maybe he was just...
Don't you guys think that teenagers are more open anyway? Children are more open? Like,
for sure.
They can read stuff around them that, like, adults can't see. We've shut it all off.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then you
but
do,
the
and
whole
then you do
message
shut it
here
off.
was, don't worry, because all the demonic stuff is stemming from human fear and human anger and human hatred. And you can push past it when you know it's human. You're like, oh, I'm human, and I'm at least as strong as it, so I'm not going to be terrified of it because it's not coming from, like, aliens or Satan or, something more powerful than me.
But back then, I didn't know this. I thought I was still in the idea that there was dark entities that would feed off of your fear. I didn't realize it was
a lot of people
our
teach
thought
us
form.
that, like, especially with the Anunnaki and the Archons, they try to teach us that you're really weak and powerless, and very strong, powerful entities or beings are using you as their food source. I mean, who does that serve? It only serves the person telling that story, because it makes everybody weak, and it takes away people's power, So I don't believe any of that stuff.
No, now he's in on a different level. Well, he got to process his, the issues that he had back then. We were able to get through them with, with therapy and stuff. But he's on a different level right now. And well, what was my point? But back then, I thought, like, I would teach him to, when you're having a nightmare and something scary in your dream, try and turn it into like a clown, like something funny, or he trips on something, and he was learning to do that.
Oh, no, like Harry Potter. But they had to do a spell to turn their deepest fear into something funny.
I didn't. It was before I was watching Harry Potter, but because I used to try and do that myself. But that's true. It's true. It's like,
and I think religions are the worst at teaching people historically. It was always a religion, including the Babylonian myth about the Anunnaki. That's a religion. Those are religious texts on the clay tablets. They're not necessarily historical. They're religious and mythological. And religions try to teach us, be very afraid, and then if you follow us and do what we say and give us your money, you'll be safe.
Oh, jeez.
What a plan.
Well, so just quickly, what they ended up doing to fix the problem was they got most of the family out to that building, and they all put their hands on it, and they sent in all kinds of positivity and all kinds of like thoughts of their best memories there and stuff to counteract it and, like, I guess transmute it or diffuse it. But they don't show you the results of the show, so I have no idea if it worked or not.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
But that's what they did. I just wanted to check the time because I was thinking, oh, shoot, Shane, does he have a lift too?
Yeah, actually, we do.
Eileen
it's good though. It's good. I wanted you to finish your story because I was wanting to hear the end too. So that's really cool.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's how they finish it.
So I think that's
okay. Well.
14. Nicola's asking, when does the imec conference start? Is it 2 Eastern, Eileen, or
2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? Hi, Nicola. What time is that for you, Nicola? 2 p.m. Eastern Standard.
Hi, Nicola.
Okay, so that would be 12
I want
plus.
numerology reading. I'm going to get a hold of you separately.
I know. Yeah, she was gonna call. She was gonna call in, but we're out of time. But
oh no.
Yeah, that'd be cool if you can.
You're not gonna hear me. That Cornelius confirmed to me that yes, this would be my last life, and that's what Nicola had told me with the numerology.
Oh,
my last life on Earth, and then you get to level up somewhere.
Yeah, I can choose if I want to come back after that. It's like this will be my graduation.
Oh, you'll come back.
So cool.
Oh,
I think I might come
know.
back too.
I don't know.
How many times have you said that?
I guess you probably know. We all know. We all somehow know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like when you feel you have to come back, you're like, no, I'm going to escape this prison planet. And then when you're like, oh, I get to choose. Okay, I'll come back again. I'll come back.
That makes a difference, right? That makes the difference for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you put it in that perspective, when you're not obliged to go take the garbage out. I'll do it on my own. Yes, Nicholas? Yes? Hang on. Okay. All right. I guess it's time to go.
All right, you guys. Lots of love to you.
Lots of
love,
So
everybody.
good talking to you all.
So great chatting to everybody tonight. I loved it. Are we going to skip tomorrow night, Shane?
Yeah, we better. I'm so glad you can come on tonight, though. Yeah, because we're going to go a little later tomorrow night. All righty, you guys.
Thank you so much.
So
Bye, guys. Love you.
We'll see you at
Love you,
IMEC
Eileen.
tomorrow.
Love you, Shane. Love you
I
all.
love you guys.
Yes. Have a good weekend.
Peace. Be sure to check out the website at uotf.net. There you will find the live stream schedule displayed in your local time right there on the front page. Below that, you'll find links to take the Beyond Quantum Healing course at a discounted rate, purchase our book, Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe, in paperback or ebook, or to contact me to schedule a BQH session. At the top of the site, you'll find links to help support the work I do, access the free private forum where you can discuss organizing get-togethers in your area, Mandela effects, and more. Thank you all so much for being here.